Well, I love this little countdown. Sorry, I'm new with Riverside, so this is a whole new thing for me. I'm Dre, and this is the Dre Lax Podcast. AHun from C.D.B Multimedia will be joining us shortly, but for anyone that's watching this on YouTube, you can see that I am not alone. I have my guest, the wonderful Shaun Church. Shaun, tell people just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
First off, thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and I'll talk to you today a little bit about just who I am and my journey and what it is I am doing. But I'm Shaun Darnell D Church, originally from Southside Jamaica, Queens. I am currently the head men's lacrosse coach at Virginia State University, which is a Division II in Ettrick or Petersburg, Virginia, and we are an HBCU.
I like it. Okay, so let me ask you this: of everywhere that you like could have gone to play lacrosse, why was it the most what connected about going to an HBCU and playing lacrosse as opposed to going somewhere like a Duke or a John Hopkins?
Well, for me, actually, I did choose more of like a Duke or a Hopkins when I did go to college. I went to Salisbury. I started my journey at Onondaga Community College, so
Mm-hmm.
I definitely did not have the experience that I'm pushing for the newer generation. But some reasons I will say that a young man or a young woman should go to an HBC. One big one is just history. There's a lot of history at all of our HBCUs that showcase a lot of just black excellence. There's legacy, Divine Nine, so a lot of people who maybe want to be in a sorority or fraternity, they may be they may be chasing legacy status to be like people in their family, which is important and it sets up um their journey once they get out of college. It allows them into a network that will change their life. And in my opinion, I mean, at the lacrosse level, I mean, we're trying to leave a mark. We're trying to show people that we are one able to have competitive, be competitive in this arena, and at least for me, visibility. Just allowing again a platform for people to show what the creator wants us all to really do with this game of lacrosse.
Okay, I like that. I like that. What would you say is what kind of drew you to lacrosse? Because I mean, look, both of us being black men, lacrosse is not something that is commonly played in our community. We have a lot of history, and a lot of people that don't know, you're going to need to learn your history more. But for someone that might be just listening and it's just like, wow, how did two black men get into lacrosse? Like, what drew you to this?
So I was originally, again, like I said, I was originally born in Southside, Jamaica, Queens. My family left the Queens area in the sixth grade. For me, my brother was a senior in high school. My sister was going to be a freshman in high school. We relocated to the Uniondale area, right by Hofstra University, so right by Hempstead, Freeport, Baldwin, Roosevelt. So in not Hicksville, that's where I graduated, but in Uniondale in sixth grade they offered lacrosse. Like a lot of brothers, I played basketball and football. That was the norm coming from Queens. But when I got to middle school, Lawrence Road Middle School in Uniondale, a plethora of sports opened up to me. I actually swim. I was a very good swimmer. I knew how to do every stroke. I dived a little bit. I was a real good wrestler. I wrestled all the way up to 11th grade. And then my other sport of choice was lacrosse in the spring. Played football in the fall, and I actually gave up basketball when I moved to Long Island. I didn't play until my junior senior year at Hicksville, but um, yeah, I was just fortunate enough to relocate to an area in Long Island where they offered lacrosse, and um, I excelled.
I love that. Um, so when it came, so like when you say excelled, like what position did you start out?
I
And then
started as
like
an attackman. I was a
okay,
quarterback. I was actually so my junior year, I kind of like, well, my seventh grade year, I kind of like figured it out. Sixth grade, I could only go to practice and like learn stick skills and stuff. That's just how it was in Long Island. You can only play in seventh and eighth grade. We were actually like the first group too that they did this whole sixth, seventh, and eighth grade with. It used to be junior high school and then high school. And then all of a sudden it was middle school and then high school. But you weren't allowed to play sports in the sixth grade. So I met the coach, Coach Dolbert. He gave me a stick though. I knew a bunch of guys on the team. Ravine Ransbrook. He was a really good goalie. I lived right down the block from him, and I just anytime I saw those guys outside, even though I was in middle school, I would go outside and I would pretty much would bump with the varsity guys and the guys who were in JV. So, um, no man, it worked out for me.
He said, "I'm out here. I'm gonna play. Forget what y'all talking about. Oh, I can't do this. I'm gonna do this real
Uh,
quick."
well, I was also lucky, and I would be remorse if I didn't say like I was also lucky with having a mentor, Drew Pinnell, played at Manhasset High School. That's my assistant coach, but that's pops to me, a guy who really um always been there for me, always kind of showed me the way to get to where I wanted to be now. He kind of really just had a real good knack for it. He had a coaching career on his own. He helped start ASA. He was down at Bellarmine, Detroit Mercy, and now he's here with me. But that's my little brother's father,
Okay.
and he just was always there for me. Took a liking for me. I didn't have like my dad really in my life, but he stepped up and kind of really assumed that role. So I was able to have him as well. You know, he was still crafty at that time. He was young, a little younger, so he still had a stick. He had knowledge because he played at Manhasset, you know, and he was able to play at Nassau for a little bit. So he knew the game. He knew who to get me around. I got some trainers early in my career too. I worked on my feet work, speed, and agility real early. So I was one of those first kids in like Uniondale who people would see me on the weekends or sometimes in the afternoons and they see me with all these different guys, you know, and I was already trained and working on my core, working on my feet work. I had a shooting coach, Steve Mateague, who went to Hofstra. So um, I was just one of those kind of kids. I had resources. I had a lot of people that took a liking to me. You know, I understood the ability of being a classy gentleman even at a younger age, and I understood giving free time. Sometimes those people would want me to come to things and help, and I didn't expect to get paid. I just was around lacrosse, you know, and I'm just always like that. Anytime I can just be around lacrosse, like I want to be around it. It's a network, in my opinion. That's the most important thing about lacrosse. So I just understood that young. I didn't really care really where I was gonna go with it when I was first started playing, but I would say once I got to college, I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I kind of saw the landscape of lacrosse. I looked at it different. Um, Drew, he likes to tell me I'm a forecaster. I just always felt like looking at lacrosse, I could see what was coming like down the road. Like I kind of always like even with Lance and my homeboys who, you know, I chop it up with about lacrosse. I always say some stuff and then they be like, "Yo, you remember like 5 years ago you said like," and like I can just see where lacrosse is going at times, and like I kind of am lucky. It's kind of like I guess a gift that I have, you know. But I kind of can forecast and I can read trends and I can see when things are gonna like shift. And in lacrosse, no, I've always was able to just see the shift in things.
Yeah, like it's funny. Like I had kind of like a similar experience. Like for me, I uh, I always like before I had my car accident back in like 2014. I was gonna try out for the 19U team that the Denver Outlaws had when they were still MLL, and as God's plan would have it, I had my seizure, had my accident. It did change my life. I definitely lived my life a lot better. But that was the end of my playing days because with having epilepsy, just the risk of having a possible like collision with my head or anything like that. Even though I was goalie, just like the risk. Because when you're a goalie, you save the ball with every part of your body, and just the
Hmm.
risk of anything as the game was evolving, it just wasn't worth it. But growing up, like I did notice that like there wasn't like a huge lane in lacrosse, and the thing that actually gave me inspiration for playing, there were two players that I saw around lacrosse that looked like me that inspired me. It was Chaz Woodson and it was Kyle Harrison. Those two I was like, oh, so black people can play this sport. I can do this. Word? Bet. Let me find out how to do this. And like now in today in the big 2026 as everybody likes to say, the fact that there's so much opportunities, not just for kids, but kids that also look like us. There's opportunities for them to grow, not just in lacrosse, but in like sports in general. And I think that getting to see that change happen over the years is definitely really cool, and it's awesome. I mean, cool is understating it, but I do also think that in this sport, there's still like so much room to grow,
Most
if that
definitely.
makes sense.
Most definitely. And again, just to add on there, I think you brought two guys up that I think they really, for us when we were young, I think they showed us, what is possible, at least on the playing scale. And again, with me thinking, as a forecaster, like I said, I didn't see anybody like Coach Wilbur, who I won his third national championship in junior college, and he went off to tear maybe 13 NJCAA national championships at Onondaga. So when you got a coach like that, you're kind of like, dang man, and I'm a historian a little bit. I look in archives and I'm like, I don't, I don't see another brother. We got Tina Sloan, we got Miss Tina Sloan Green who put in some work over at Temple, so that was somebody where I was like, so I didn't see a black coach though who I saw at like the peak ever. So I wanted to be that, and then Kyle, just two guys again I was able to really meet at a young age, like going into high school. I met Chaz and Kyle. Johnny's another one. Johnny was my favorite player growing up. So I had a relationship with three. I'm gonna add another one, Austin Walker, because Army was recruiting me. So I have four of the top, African American guys who were about to go to college, who were playing in college, who I was actually in contact with. And as they started going into the pro levels, I was in contact with. And I'll throw another one because I played at Uniondale. I was able to watch Will Barrow like just every game, and Will Barrow is he was totally he was the change in the guard on Long Island. That's where me and hands down the Bratton's we were able to patent our game. I can't front. Will was doing stuff I never seen, and I probably had played lacrosse for 2 3 years, and when I saw Will Barrow, I was like, wow, this dude is different. And then when you play with guys like Sam Bradman, um, Hakeem Lucky, there's so many other brothers that I've been able to just rub shoulders with that, like, yeah, man, it's to see where we are now, you know what I mean? There's so many other lanes we can still take over: photography, engineers who can make equipment, apparel, and gaming, streamers. You know what I mean? So that's all stuff I saw, and I pitched it a couple times to people like, hey, even my players throughout the years of coaching, I tried to get them away from like thinking so like always playing in the game, and I tried to always get them to see the behind the scenes. Like there's a lot more that goes on to get what you see to go on, and we could also infiltrate that and live some pretty good lives and then still be able to tell our stories. And I think that's more of what we need to do. We get certain people more in certain spaces and certain rooms that can be like, hey, no, let's get a black photographer. Like, let's get a black videographer. Let's see like their perspective. Like, and get away from just the DEI type positions. Like, no, let a brother be the event coordinator. You know what I mean? And see the flavor, but we have to get expertise in that and we have to get in the lane and do it. You know what I mean? They're not going to just give it to you. We have to do it.
We gotta get it. And it's funny. One of my friends, he actually has a podcast on the network. His name's Sloan, and he really he said this years ago. Like, I mean, I'm the main reason that anyone in my close friend circle, any of my close guy friends, that any of my friends on this network even
No
know that
lacrosse.
lacrosse exists. And
I'm the
it's so fun. And
same
like
way with
he
my
was
crew.
well, but I asked him, I was like, hey, Sloan, as you are a dude from Chicago, you really didn't encounter like lacrosse like that. What's your perspective as someone that may not have as much investment right now in this game as I do? Like what how do you think lacrosse will grow? And he said, you got to get it to the hood. He's like, if you want more black Hispanic kids to play, you got to get it into the hood and you got to make it accessible and affordable for them. And I was like, and like it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was like,
Well,
I'm like, that is the
that's
most.
when basketball finally popped with the Jordan. You know, people were watching it and it was what it was. And, you know, you have the two leagues and they just had like kind of merged years previous. So they were really looking for another jolt. And I mean, you had the Lakers and the Pistons were kind of running everything and the Celtics popping in here and there. But when they were able to get you know, Jordan in and they had a very good Nike that was coming out, their marketing was strategizing getting that sneaker and the promotion and upping of basketball in inner cities, and the way they did it more so was with the branding and the come up of AAU and stuff like that. Now these companies they're able to put their brand on set events, you know, and now kids are they got to wear that product. You know, if you go to let's use top 205, a tournament we used to do back in the day in lacrosse. Imagine if Under Armour, because it was ran in Maryland at Towson and usually University of Maryland. Imagine if top 205 Under Armour had the rights to everything every kid at top 205 was going to wear. And remember, top 205, you went down with your high school team.
Yep.
And then there was a top 205 event, the top 205 players. Imagine if Under Armour had the whole right to just, yeah, your school can come here, but we're putting your team
Everything.
logo on Under Armour stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I agree. I think that is where um, it's really gonna boom. But in my opinion, humbly, I don't think that's what they want yet. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think.
I don't think
I
that's
don't
what they
think
want
they're
yet.
ready for that. I don't think they're ready for that. And it,
They'll
and
they'll lose their product. You know.
well, well,
But
it's
I think there's
also
nothing wrong with us doing our own. I think, you know, you got something like the Sixers Prize League that, you know, the structure's nice. You know, I think if we can get some support, more support to that brother over there, he has two areas, Pittsburgh and Maryland, where he's running this event that is streamed already, that it has connections with streaming platforms already. So I think it's things like that. We gotta like see where people are doing things that they're gaining traction. We got to put our support behind that as a collective. That's what we need to be doing more. And there's people that actually have ideas that could help on some of these again things that we have traction in. We have traction in our three male HBCUs: UDC, Hampton, Virginia State. We have traction at our ladies' schools: Howard, Dell State, UDC, Virginia State. You know, now we have a bunch of other ones that are playing at the club level and stuff. Us coaches got to get them that information. We got a couple of travel teams that are minority based. We got to make sure the coaches are tying in there. And we got to get those people better connections with tournaments they can get to, funding they can get, and better athletes and players that can be on their teams that can get coached up. So then when we do go to some of these events, we're top notch, you know? And then the list goes on. You know what I mean? If somebody's running an event, no, maybe give that brother a call and try to get him in. So now his foot is in the door and he can start rubbing elbows with people that you may know. So um, that's just how I've always been in lacrosse. Like I've always been, if I'm in the door, I'm trying to pull a couple people
trying to
in
pull
with
everybody
me.
up.
Yeah, not everybody, but I'm trying to pull a couple people in
Well,
with me.
like I know what you mean. It's like you like okay, so like all right, coach to coach, you are your player that is not the fastest, but might be the strongest. You're not gonna put him at midfield
Mm-mm.
because he gonna get toast. And so it's kind of like that. When I get in the door, I have to also because like I said, people like people who don't know don't know, but like if when I get in the door, I can't bring everybody with me because some people have no decorum and are gonna get us both thrown out the door.
Especially if
I
you play
gotta.
for a quality program. You know, I represent. I don't only represent Virginia State. You know, I represent all the other brands, universities, institutions, colleges that gave me an opportunity to be there. Like, so I may be the head coach at Virginia State, you know, partner in BME, or owner of BME. You know what I mean? I may have all those endeavors, but I still owe all the other places that allowed me time to come there and gain knowledge and to share what I'm best at, which I feel is, you know, being passionate with people and getting them to see things that that they may not see about themselves, you know, but also to Salisbury University and Onondaga where I played. So No, those two places just where I played, they decorum. No, being first class with, your morality, your character, and what you're displaying. So again, I may be the head coach at Virginia State. I may be trying to get my own thing going, but not a day doesn't go by where I don't think about all the other places, Sweet Lax of Rochester, Monster Women's Program of Rochester, all the towns in Rochester that allowed me to like coach their kids and come into the town and coach their kids because those are the kids now that I'm watching getting recruited and going to college. So, no, I owe it to them as well to make sure anybody I do bring in the door or anytime I am in the door that I carry myself in a certain way.
And like, what do you feel a lot of kids that are coming up like that, not even kids that are in college, but a lot of kids that are maybe just starting out in high school, or the kids that have aspiration of not even just playing lacrosse, playing sports in general. Like, what are three myths that you think they have in their head, and also how would you kind of like dispel those myths as like a mentor to them?
Well, I think the first biggest one is that everybody thinks if you're getting recruited, you're just gonna go to college for free. I think that's one of the biggest myths just in general, like in college sports, because college sports is different than what everybody's used to. You got the transfer portal now, and the transfer portal is saturating high school recruiting in general. And I think that's the first thing a lot of people need to start understanding. What used to be ain't anymore because you got this system where a bunch of kids who are college ready, they've done college, they've lifted for a year or two. They're just sitting there, and some of these kids are freshmen. You can bring in a 20 or 22-year-old freshman. Um, why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? So I think that's one, the transfer portal, and just people understanding the myth of if you're getting recruited, you're gonna be going to college for free. The next one I would say is just getting caught up in the hype too early. I think Dunny talked about it in a podcast when he was out at Sandstorm. People just seeing how one person's journey is maybe going, and everybody gets fixated on, and they think that's just how their journey is gonna go. And it's like there's levels to this. You gotta find what your lane is. You know what I mean. You gotta work on your craft. You know what I mean, and you gotta live your journey. And if you want hype, record your own journey. You know what I mean. Don't get sucked into the guy who understands how to market and capitalize on his moment. You know what I mean? You're actually helping that guy reach his goal faster. You know what I mean? And I think that's another big one. You got people who are doers and they have a plan in what they're doing. And you got people who want to do, but they're too busy watching the person who actually had the plan to do it and is executing it. So I think the third one is people got to have a plan and you got to actually execute your plan. And I don't think a lot of people have a plan. They go into recruiting very blind. They go into just the whole process. I think in lacrosse, very blind. I think a lot of people are just very blind within just the process of what is going on really in lacrosse, from travel ball to how to train, what team my kid should be on. Am I even in the right town, high school wise? Like, I think just there's a lot of just blurred lines going on. But the people who have a plan, the people who are tapped in with people who have had success, they have successful kids, maybe bloodlines like dad played college ball, great grandpa played college ball, the uncles, the aunties played college ball, all the sisters play. Like, I think those are the people people need to be having conversations with, and you can't take everything you see on a thread or everything that's posted for full validity. You got to do some research. So have a plan. You know what I mean? And that usually starts with 7 steps. I think we all learned that a while back. But hey, that's just me. But I think those are the three different things that I think people get caught up with. Now, um, what's some advice I would give to it? I think that has a lot more to do with searching within. You know what I mean? And I think that's something we all deal with on a daily, in a quarterly, in a yearly phase. And for a young person, I'm sure that is very hard. There's a lot of other factors that need to be happening, like your support
Like,
system.
what do you want out of
But
this?
yeah, your tribe has to be pretty, solid. And I think everybody has to be honest in a young man's tribe. You can't blow his head up, and you people can't have ulterior motives. But um, I think for that kid, you gotta just keep searching. Yeah, you gotta keep searching within and what it is you're trying to um, gain because outside of lacrosse, there's a lot more to life. You know what I mean? Lacrosse is an amazing thing that we all get to um, play. You know, coach for me, you get to talk about it, get content. You know, but we do a lot of other things. Um, we have a lot of bigger roles in our lives. I'm sure, other than when we're dealing with lacrosse. Like I'm a dad as well. You know, I'm a
Yep.
son. You know what I mean? I'm an uncle. You know, I'm a cousin. You know, so you know, there's other things that I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying to build and I'm already on it, building lacrosse in Petersburg, you know, so I'm about my community, you know, about my faith. I'm Muslim. So I'm taking part in Ramadan right now. And, you know, I've been doing that for 7 years and it's challenging, you know, but every year I've gotten better at doing it, you know. My team understands it. The team aura usually changes. So I feel like I'm able to share um my faith with them and they get it, you know, and again, not in a pushing way, but um, I think for young men to see their coach fasting and for guys to do research on why and have an understanding, I think that's important. It helps them to start gain understanding of somebody else. So no, I think it's just a constant search. You gotta search, you gotta search, you gotta search. And I think the earlier you start the search process, the better. I think a lot of people wait because they think kids are too young, but your kids will know what it is you teach them and you keep them around, you know, and what you promote to them. So, no, if you got them thinking, if you got your 5'6", I'm 5'7", so one of my sons is only going to be about 5'7". But if I got him thinking he about to go to the NBA or he about to be doing something like that, I'm crazy. No, he's very sensory already. He has a music ear. I'm probably going to get him around music. You know what I mean? His brother now is probably going to be about 6'2", you know, gonna have about 200 pounds on him. So that's the athlete a little bit. Not saying that Cameron is not an athlete. I just know that's not where I really need to be focusing on my energy and pushing my agenda because there are other gifts he has. With Carter, that boy's an athlete, man. He's gonna be a smart athlete.
You know, my son's 17 months old, and it is really hard because this is my first one, so
Yes,
it's
sir.
really hard. Not like I try to make sure that I'm not like projecting all of these things that I want him to be, as opposed to like see who he is. Like he loves music. He loves all types of music. He especially loves Gracie's Corner, and against his mother's wishes, he loves Kendrick Lamar, but he gets the clean versions.
Yes.
But he, but he, but like it's stuff like that, and like I have this little basketball hoop that I got for him, and when he had a smaller hoop, like I would like dunk the little ball for him, and then like he would start doing it. Now that there's a hoop that like he can play with
Oh
up
yeah, he
till he's
trying to
like
go. He
5,
going for it. Yeah,
just he walks over to the hoop, gets on his
drops
tiptoes,
it.
puts the ball in. Every time the ball goes in, he claps his hands like that.
So
Um,
they are what they learn, man. You know, and that's something that us as men, we got to make sure we're understanding of that. You know, um, it's our duty to make sure our young men are not, you know, they can love mama, but they can't be mama boys. They got to be able to be active and functional, and they got to be able to have decorum, you know, and be able to make decision making. So I work on decision making, you know, and emotional regulation a lot with uh, my young bucks. They're very free willed, you know, because I kind of want them to be that way, but I definitely don't tolerate like back talk and certain stuff. I don't allow them to speak to their mother a certain way or adults at that matter. That's the stuff that I checked from an early age. Thank you, yes, you know, and just being polite. Remember a man Terry Getz in Pittsford always just telling me, you know, remember a classy gentleman. Everybody always remembers a classy gentleman, and that's something that was like with the first pillar here at Virginia State that I built with. You know, I wanted guys that at least are gonna remember, to be a classy gentleman because people always remember that.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like you want to be, my grandpa, God rest his soul, always said to be someone worth remembering.
Yep.
That was he always had little weird like little anecdotes. Like he never really raised his voice much. He always like kind of just like taught to you kind of like how we're conversating, but I learned so much from like watching how he conducted himself. I mean, that man was a doctor for majority of his
Mm.
life, and the cruel irony of life is that at the end of his life, he got dementia and Parkinson's. So like I and I struggled with that. Thank goodness for therapy, because I struggled with that, because like I was so mad at life, because I'm like, yo, this man has done nothing but help people
Yeah.
his whole life, and now at the end of his life,
He goes through
he's
something
the
like
one,
that. Yeah.
like, that was. And my, like, when he passed, like, I definitely had to go to therapy a little bit more than I already do now. I had to go, like, I had to really up the time I was going, because I just was so, like, mad. And
No.
like, and the gym was not getting my anger out for me. But the thing that got me, like, through it, I went to this strongman competition in Florida, and I was out there because I had done a podcast with this adaptive strongman who was a firefighter who had his arm crushed by the fire truck when it was backing in the station, so he lost his arm. And seeing other people who didn't have fully functioning bodies, some of them that were born that way, some of them that had accidents that befell them, and seeing them lift like 300 pounds, 200
Mm.
pound boulders, push trucks, carry door frames, just stuff like that. I was like, this is real inspiring. And then, like, while I'm out there, my wife at the time, her grandma passes,
Mm.
unfortunately. I get back, we got to put our dog down. It was just like storm after storm was rolling through. And one day one of my friends called me out the blue. Like, we're one of those friends that we catch up every now and then, but like, he called me out the blue. He's like, "So how are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm fine." He's like, "No, no, no, no. So like, how are you actually doing?"
Yeah. He knew though.
But
He
like,
knew.
him doing that later on would inspire me to kind of do what I do with my players during the season. Like, during the summer, like, we were on, like I was coaching like the kids that are in the B team in the same like age bracket, because we have so many
Hmm.
age. And I told the kids, because like we had lost like probably about our fifth game in a row, because some of these kids are green and stuff. And I told them, I was like, "Hey, look, I know how losses like kind of affect people, and I know that, like, you guys being athletes, you guys being playing sports, and you guys being this guy on your team during the
Hmm.
regular season and being this guy here might be messing with your identity." So I was like, "But for one, you guys are more than the final score of your games. You are more than your losses.
Yes.
I care more about who you all are as people. And I know that, like, as kids, like, y'all have such a pressure to be XYZ, fit in these different boxes. And I just want to know, I want to let you guys know, as your coach, that it's okay to not be okay. Obviously,
Yeah.
you don't got to share that right now because you're in front of your teammates and stuff. But if you need anything at
Yeah.
all, I don't care, day or night. Pull one of us coaches aside, reach out, because I would rather you reach out, and I know I did my absolute best to help you, than to wake up to an unfortunate email or text."
You're right about that.
And
Yeah.
that's just my little mental health soapbox.
I mean, it's very important. I mean, I've had two kids today come in already about just, freshmen, just homesickness a little bit, and people at home are going through stuff. So, I think a lot of those guys, they want to go home, they want to try to help and fix stuff, but um sometimes you got to remind them, like, just where they are in their life and how much can you really help. Sometimes you got to be where your feet are, and you know, let everybody figure it out. You can't shortchange yourself, but you can call more, you can FaceTime. We're lucky in an era where there's a lot of resources we have where you can be all in somebody's face and not be in somebody's face. So I'm just not one who thinks it's smart to go off your course because other people's pain. Like, I'm just not somebody who ever understood that one. I'm not one who really have ever shied or veered away from like my journey because of other people's, again, decisions or what they think they got to do. So that's one I've I've learned to have empathy for, but it's not one I would say I understand, but I've learned to be empathetic when people feel like, oh, I gotta go home and I gotta help mama. And it's like, but you only did 1 year college. Like, how much you about to go home and help mama? Like, you about to get a regular type, not to say it like that, but you kind of short ended yourself on what you can do now. There's a longer climb for you to get a more sustainable, you know, job. You know what I mean? Like, so, um, I try to get young men to understand that. But sometimes, no, I get it. The emotions, some
Gets to
kids,
him.
yeah, some kids got to make the decision they got to make. But um, I don't think anybody in the world, screw school, I don't think anybody in the world should be stopping their true journey for anything. And I know the pain may suck, the pain may um, at nights be unbearable, but when you're like truly walking through your purpose and when you get to it, it's really, and I know in my heart it's going to be better than anything you can imagine. So that's just how I've always been. If I wanted to quit because Salisbury Berkeley gave me bad news, at the end of the fall, my junior year, say I just quit off the news he gave me, I wouldn't be where I am today. So, no, that was just a storm I had to buckle up in and I had to just ride it out.
What would you say is your well, I don't know. I because like you've been coaching for a while, you played for a while. So through your entire lacrosse experience, what would you say are like three core lacrosse memories you have? Like you can't tell your lacrosse story without.
Uh, we definitely have to be sophomore year winning the JUCO national championship. I was the captain of that team with my best friend Vinny Alexander. He coaches at Lemoyne. We both had coaching dreams. We both figured that out um, real early at Onondaga. But um, why that championship, which was my first championship, is so special is because um, Onondaga had started becoming who people know them as. My class comes in and we kind of messed up the streak. They had won two in a row. My class comes in, we get knocked out early my freshman year, like semifinals. And we came back that next year on like redeem team, and no, we were able to get it done, and we went undefeated. So that's something that really just set me off on what I knew I wanted to do throughout college. The next two are clearly the ones at Salisbury, and I feel like because I learned two very valuable lessons on both years, and um, I feel like I was able to really just grow. Um, just being there, there were things that I really just learned more about myself, and a lot of it is what I needed to learn to do what I'm doing now. But junior year, I kind of just made the team. The tryout that year was crazy. It was probably like 80, 90 guys there. Um, but I just grinded it out, man. I watched guys quit. I watched just guys get hurt. I just watched a lot of stuff happen, and like, I kind of like I didn't doubt myself. Like I kind of felt like I was good the whole time, but those moments of doubt were crippling, So I ended up making it, and then it was just about now finding my role. We were a very senior heavy team. We brought in a lot of JUCO transfers, so it was just very competitive, and it was hard. It was hard coming to practice every day and just having to like play game style. Like, and I don't think people get that. Like, I get people like probably practice and people have their days, but like I don't get. I don't think people get like when you're at like a top tier, like you're in the championship every year, like you're making deep playoff runs, like practice like every day, like that is it's hard. It's hard on the mind, it's hard on the body, it's hard on the spirit, it's hard on your soul, man. And it just really when you do it for so long, because Onondaga was like that too. But when you do it for so long in your career, you just become numb to certain things, and like you're just able to persevere and push through more. But junior year, like just finding my role and what I was gonna do, um, it was hard. But that championship stands out because it was one that Salisbury needed. Like we hadn't won a championship in maybe like 3 4 year gap. That was when Stevenson was really buzzing. They were on our ass, and every game was like a war. Um, and we just had to get one. We just had to get one. And in 2011, we were able to get it. Now, why 2012 is so important is because The whole team came back from 2011, and it was like we're in the gym one day, we're having like a rain practice, we're getting ready to go down to Duke to scrimmage Ohio State and Duke, and like in the gym, what do you usually look up at in the rafters? You see your banners. So we happen to have a lot more banners than everybody else at Salisbury. And I didn't talk much my senior year, but I did talk in this huddle, and I kind of told everybody like, "Hey, take a second before we board the bus to go to Duke. Like, but look up in the rafters. There's probably only three other teams I think in Salisbury history that were like undefeated and won it undefeated. And I, in a nutshell, just posed the question like, which banner do you guys want? And we were able to run off 22-0. You know what I mean? We took every player award of the year, conference and national. We had like 19 people on the All American list. We had like 10 guys get drafted, into MLL at the time. Sam Bradman went to the NLL. And then there were like two startup box leagues that were like starting up. And, a bunch of guys got drafted into that. So I actually went and did a tryout for one of the leagues. And it was just a real fun time for us when we're just finishing up 2011, 2012. So
It's funny because I remember seeing like kind of like the news or like the little article when Salisbury won that time. I remember seeing that and I was like, where the heck is this? I was like, where the heck is this school at? I
yeah,
was
we're
like,
yeah, we're over by Ocean City, man. We're in our own little world. We run the beach. But when you pull up on Salisbury University, you for sure see it. Um, it's an amazing campus. Has a lot of off-campus living residential options for people who may be older, and they got the campus feel. It's a lot more immaculate than when I was there. They've definitely upgraded a lot more, but stadium's been upgraded. It's brand new. But when I was there for the experience, I wanted to finish up college. It was definitely everything I wanted and more. I got right into coaching after that, man. So
and, and like and like so um what would you say what would you say you learned like helped you in the sphere what would you say in the sphere of lacrosse like you like had to like hurdle over or at least walk through that now today as an adult the lessons from that experience have served you.
just understanding, at Salisbury again in Onondaga, like when you're a champion, I think you learn a system. You learn what it is you need to do to actually be um, the best. And some things I've just learned is that you got to be disciplined. You got to be willing to keep ironing you gotta be willing to sharpen your iron every day. You gotta be working on something to get yourself better. Um, and in my opinion, the older I get, I think faith, some sort of faith. You know what I mean? You're not doing all this by yourself, and in the hardest moments, and when you need guidance, like you have to have some sort of faith. And I think that's the one a lot of people are missing in the world right now. People don't have a lot of faith. I think a lot of people think they're running their show, and they're doing a lot of things. A lot of people are speaking out of term and putting a lot of bad things out in the world for themselves, and then they're expecting this abundance, and it don't work like that. People are not really worried about the community they live in. They talk it, but people are not really putting back into the community. People are not really doing the things that they put out there, they portray. I know in my heart, I do it. You see it on my IG, I do it. I know if it come out of my mouth, I do it. You know what I mean? And if I don't hold myself to it, I know I'm gonna have my moments where I know when I look in the mirror, I gotta tighten up. So um, I think it's some sort of faith. My faith definitely got me through college. I definitely was not a guy who had all the money in the world to go to college. I had work study jobs. I had to work over the summer. I had to put money away. I had to be smart with the amount of money I did go to school with. I didn't get to take my refund check and just blow the whole thing on dumb stuff. Like I had to put it away. I had to learn how to work with three other dudes. I lived in houses at Salisbury. I lived in a house at Onondaga, so I had to learn how to work with people. Like, hey, you gonna cook Monday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday. I got Tuesday, Thursday. You start learning different things that you need, life skills that you need in my opinion, to get you to always the next step. When I got in coaching realm, I was GA at Eastern. I was living with my uncle and aunt. So I had to learn how to hustle. I had to learn how to, I'll babysit the kids, like get a little extra cash so I can get to move around, do what I got to do. And I was able to get to King's College. They gave me housing and was going to cover my meals. And I was going to get a little check. So now it's like, all right, what do I need now to be able to make the next jump? I moved to ASA next, but I had to live in the city, So what would life look like living in this city and trying to coach? And you make those adjustments, then to moving upstate where I was able to sustain a little bit more of a life because it wasn't as expensive. And again, you start budgeting. What kind of place can I live in? Can I really be somebody who go out and that's like, especially does that align with where I'm trying to go? For me right now, being a party animal and all that, it don't align for what I'm trying to do. I know over the summers, I go and I have fun. I enjoy my time for myself, with my kids. But during the year, I get it's lock in. And again, that stuff that I learned humbly being a part of programs like um Onondaga and Salisbury. Again, I think it's just a system, and I think everybody has opportunities to learn systems. There are different people that are introduced in our lives. There are different things that we just naturally do where we are being offered systems, and I think it's whether people are smart enough to take heed. Like for 12 grades, you're getting system, and it's up to you to like take certain stuff, apply it or not. Before you go to college if you want, or you just go when you want to go into the workforce, or you want to go to the military. And then again, you're learning another system. So me at this point, I'm an adult. Like I can write my own system now. I know what it is I need, how I need to go about it. You know what I mean? I think the main one was my faith, a fluctuation. You know what I mean? Like coaching, being a father, like just life, moving around. Again, I think a lot of people put that time to just talk with the higher source aside too much, and in Ramadan right now, in before Ramadan, I was able to really just catch myself and pull myself back in. Like you gotta be, especially if you're a Muslim, you gotta be tapped in every day. You can't be missing prayers, all these prayers, you can't be missing prayers. You gotta be locked in. When you're locked in, I see the difference. And again, I have enough data being a Muslim to see the difference of when I'm having a fluctuation of my prayer cycle and I'm not really in the Quran to like when I'm in the Quran and I'm praying my 5 times and sometimes more prayers a day. When I'm going to bed, I'm drinking my water, you know, um, I'm just keeping myself healthy. I'm working out, I'm running, I'm shooting. I play wall ball because that's like a release for me. So um, like I'm keeping everything. I journal. I write a lot. You know what I mean? I don't keep those thoughts.
Actually, something I just started.
Yeah, because you can't keep all that in your head. You know what I mean? You got to get it out, even if it's ideas you want to do. And you may not do them all right now, but I think every person should have the blueprints. I call them marble notebooks. We all started with them and just write right away. If yeah, man, you see little quotes you like, just write it down. You know what I mean? And
I do
because in that
poetry too.
moment you were going through something, and when you go to look back, because I like to backtrack a lot, I like to look at where I was. You know what I mean? Because again, I think that's something that is important for me. That's something that's a motivator for me because I know I'm an underdog. I know I'm somebody that a lot of people doubt, and their doubt fuels me. And in no way do I boast or want to brag to hurt anybody, but I am aware that people think I'm an underdog and that people count me out. And where I'm from in South Side, like that's what we want. Like we love that. You know what I mean? So people play right into, you know, the ego of what I need when it's to time to tap in. And when I tap in competition now as a coach, my creativity is released. You know what I mean? And I'm able to again just look at things different, and I'm able to really push myself to know when to pivot or how to pivot. All I'm doing right now is running $1 million business. I'm the CEO, and that's what you really are when you get to a college program. Yes, I get to do the X's and O's and I get to do all that stuff, but I'm really a CEO, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to get these young men to buy into my system.
He's connecting. He's connecting.
Yo, what's
There
Gucci,
we go.
fellas? How you guys doing? My
How you doing? How you
apologies.
doing?
My apologies. I am fantastic. Give
This is
me.
this is my network partner, my
Heck
brother. This
yeah.
is this is AHun.
What?
Nice to meet
AHun,
you,
this is
brother.
Shaun.
Shaun, what's going on, bro?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real good. We've been having a nice chat thus far. We're kind of about to get into the thick of our season. We've missed a lot of games due to some snow. I'm sure everybody's been getting a little bit of that. But we're about to hit the goal time of our season where we got to play Wednesday, Saturday. We're 1-2 right now. We lost a tough one on Saturday, but um, I've been here for 3, 4 years. This is our third year of playing. I'm really where I wanted to be year one with the team, in my opinion. I have the
Okay.
guys. I have the guys that I need. They can play lacrosse. Like their hunger's there. It's just now getting for me in this patch. It was all right. Updating certain things in the system from the first 2 years. So like today we handed out a leadership standard, where maybe that's not something we would have did year 1 or 2, but because I already have like my system on how I know I want to run the program from fall ball to out of season training to now when we're in the season, I'm able to structure the season how I wanted it. Finally, we're in a conference now, so we have conference games that we know we got to play, and I'm looking at this like basketball, man. You get hot in the conference. So I don't tell the boys that, but no, we're gonna go into a lot of these games. We're gonna do what we gotta do, but we're focused on the in-season conference play, and then we're getting ourselves ready for the conference playoffs. And I think any smart coach who's going into this conference for the first year, I think that's how you have to look at it.
So I have a question, and I always like to ask this question, especially to like other coaches of color, but especially black coaches. What is something that you have experienced? And let me kind of preface this question. So I um predominantly my whole background is coaching within like soccer. Now I have a bachelor of science in sports administration. So I understand like American development in regards to like what has to go from grassroots to maybe like a mid tier in between a professional within that field. I just understand that I only have so much expertise within soccer because that's the way that like my sports pathway went, if that makes sense.
Yes,
But for
sir.
you, as a lacrosse coach, right? And being in and around and having been that, and from what we've been told, predominantly lacrosse may not have been, even though we understand that it's a sport that was originated by like indigenous within our own country. So knowing all of that and experiencing all of that, what is something that you've maybe run into? Two question. And what is something that you would give in regards to advice for the future version of you or newer coaches? Like I know you and Dre are young and you're going through like your expertise and going through that in sport, but I know that there's a moment where you're like, if I had me, but here.
I would definitely say it's an annoying one. I've gotten better at it though. I think I'm doing very, very good this year, but I humbly just think games are refed a little different, and it can sway games. And when your team maybe is not as lacrosse IQ'd or savvy to see like kind of what's happening, you can get put in tough spots. And if you're not a good coach and you haven't been put in that position, you don't know how to like pivot and do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Games can get very chaotic, and if you have young men who are not really emotionally where they need to be, it can make it look like you're running a shit show. Excuse my language, but and I think humbly that's kind of what they want to do because they want to kind of downgrade. And for a guy like me, I won 4 national championships, so there's not many people who can come on the field and they're gonna be like, da, 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 and they know that.
Air horns in the
Um,
chat right now. Pew, pew, pew,
and
pew, pew.
I
Sorry.
and
I marked that as a clip point because I need my players who are in high school to hear that, because everything Shaun is saying, I've experienced, and now Shaun coaches at the college level. I
Yeah.
coach at the high school
Mm-hmm.
level. I I run into this all the time because again of how the game is officiated. But at the end of the day, I always say don't
I'll
leave
give
the
y'all a
game on the
quick one. Y'all ready for this one? And
Yeah,
I've been
sure.
coaching in college for 16 years. Here's one. Y'all tell me how this one works. So, and I'm not even gonna name the team because it has nothing to do with the team. I'm not even mad they made the decision they made. Okay, but I just had never heard this one before, and I was like, oh, okay, this is how we're starting it. But game's supposed to start at 12 o'clock. Whatever. Something's wrong with our clock. Game don't start till about 12:05 ish. Ref comes over to me and goes, "Hey, because the game's starting at 12:05, we asked such and such team, would they want to face off, which is how the game is supposed to start, or do you want the ball because we're going to give Virginia State a delay of game?" Now, I've been coaching for 2 years at Virginia State. I've played at other places where the clock was messed up, things were like being held up, and I never just got the ball. So things like that will happen, and now you're starting your game um, where they just get possession, and in lacrosse, in my opinion, that's big because we don't know what's going to happen on that face off, and you're just giving them the ball for the first possession. And in my opinion, it's because y'all know I'm not about to play none of that because I've been on y'all for 3 years. So y'all just trying to mess with me already, and um, it's just an annoying game of cat and mouse. Now, where they get themselves in trouble is there was an incident that happened in the game, and they didn't really handle it the best. They ejected the wrong kid. Now we're going through all this back and forth, and they got to backpedal. But now the people are asking, well, why aren't y'all like really why do we have to backpedal from what we're doing if y'all are really in tune with like what y'all are supposed to be doing when you ref this team's games? We're in a conference now. So now you're not only answering the NCAA, you're answering for the Peach Belt. You know what I mean? And I think that's something they're going to see very soon, that you're not going to win that one because we just send film in now to the conference. And you won't get an opportunity to ref my games anymore. Now, what do we do? At Virginia State, we generally talk about it. I talk to my players about it. And what we're starting to master is how to rally around that and how to just, all right, it is what it is. You want to give us a flag? We're just gonna work that harder, man down. We might do this counting thing where we every time they pass the ball, we're trying to throw them off, so we get a little ignorant. But if you wasn't on the lacrosse field and somebody was doing this to you, what would you naturally do? Me, I would ignore it and let who I am speak for itself. And on a lacrosse field, we try to push, in my opinion at least, that same narrative. Now, again, we're speaking on the black terms of how this happens.
Mm.
I played at Onondaga and Salisbury where there was only 4 brothers on the team. They would do the same spit to us. So I think it's just a greatness thing. I don't want to make it too white black because I played on 2 teams where we had Native Americans. They were the best players on the team at Onondaga, and same shenanigans. You go to Long Island on a given day playing at Onondaga, you ain't getting no calls, man. And they calling them all types of names, the native brothers, So again, I don't like to make it too white and black because I've had other experiences throughout my playing career in coaching. At Sweet Legs, I coached all white boys and they loved me. Same calls, same swage of the game, and I got the top recruits in the country on my team. And they're like, "Yo, bro, you don't call this stuff at my high school. What the heck going on?" Oh, Coach Church on the sideline. Oh, okay. And people start learning how to rally behind it. And in my opinion, it's better for them because I know where they're going. I got guys at UNC, Syracuse, Marquette, Johnny Hopkins, girls too. You name it. And I trained them like that. I trained them in chaos. Got to be able to adapt in chaos. Especially now, this world moves too fast. It's chaotic. You got to be able to slow it down.
I would say that's probably the most common. That word adaptability is probably the most common theme that's come up in this
Yeah.
conversation. I know you just got here, but through and Shaun, stop me if I'm incorrect at any point, but throughout a lot of Shaun's experiences, whether it's been coaching or playing, through the different barriers and different hurdles, he just had to adapt. And it goes back to that quote, even though it's from a pro wrestling promo, which I know Shaun's gonna know where I'm going with that because I see that I see how he feels about it. But you know, adapt or perish. It's literally that. Like and that's how life is. So, speaking of adaptability, I feel like being adaptable also means you have to be able to be held accountable and hold others accountable. So, Shaun, how do you as a coach hold your players accountable when they need it, and then also as a coach and a man, how do you hold yourself accountable?
Well,
Good
one, I
question.
think you allow, um, one, we all have captains on the team. So I think there's two meetings that need to happen. I think there's a meeting with your captains, as if you're like a general, your captains, like you have to give them some input on like what is really realistic. If you just come out trying to push what you think a standard or how they should move, I think with these young men in this generation, it's a little gray line. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because we had different experiences. We moved how we did during our time, how we did for a reason. You know what I mean? I think the same thing for them. So I bring my captains in on like that talk. Like, what do y'all think? How do y'all think we need to be moving? What are rules, regulations, etc. I think then it's brought to the whole team. Where now we all go through it, we go over it, what's realistic, what's a little crazy, you know what I mean? And then you go from there. Now, me, I'm always going to carry myself above what they say a little bit because again, I still move as far as in I had the ability to even go to Onondaga or Salisbury. We talked about this a little earlier. Like I still owe it to all of the different institutions, colleges, brands, travel teams that allowed me to come a part of that program. I still owe it to them to carry myself like how they taught me. Even though I'm at Virginia State now, that's cool. But I still owe it to all those other organizations and people who gave me an opportunity to be on their platform to carry myself the way they taught me. You know what I mean? And now even better here. So that's how I look at it. I would never want to get in trouble because it's not only damning Virginia State, it's damning Sweet Lax, Monster, all those kids I trained. So I think that's just where I come from. Another one is I'm not gonna ask them to do anything like I haven't done as a player. Or in my opinion that I'm not doing. I still play, I still shoot, I still lift, I still train. Again, I push spirituality. I'm Muslim, so they heavily know about Ramadan and what's going on. No, I talk about I'm at an HBCU, so no, protect our sisters. Don't be one of the guys who are being ignorant towards what people push about our sisters. You know what I mean? Just all that stuff. I don't, and I think that's more of what needs to be um, talked about. With my 35, 40 guys, I know those are heavy conversations we have though, like about checking your ego for real. You know what I mean? You got to be able to check yourself before somebody else can check you. You're always going to be on defense. If you're on defense with yourself, how can now in a team setting somebody tell you, "Yo, bro, slide there"? You're gonna get offended.
mm.
You know what I mean? You're gonna take somebody's passion for aggression. Because I don't want to lose and I'm a perfectionist and I'm telling you something, you mad now. But that's my passion. You don't get to take that from me. You can't take my standard away from me. You got to work on you.
Got it. I have a question because it's interesting that, when you talk about accountability and being direct, but have you found your maybe your application has been applied differently with different players? I know that's something I've come across where it's like I can't do something that's flat or across the board. I have to kind of shape the way that I'm having this conversation with this player in a direction that is going to benefit him or her best. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Or them. Best per se. So have you run into that where it's like, ooh, if so, what's been probably the most rewarding, and you don't have to say that player specifically, but what's the best piece of knowledge you've been able to take away from teaching?
I would definitely say my MUD acronym, MUDD. We call ourselves the Muddy Boys, and MUD is a check-in essentially. I was a psych major in college, so M standing for mental, U standing for understanding, D standing for discipline, D standing for dedication. So for them, I can tell them check your MUD grade. For the team, I can tell them overall after practice what their MUD grade was. Were y'all mental in today's practice? Was everybody really there? You know what I mean? Or were some guys still stuck on, what happened in the cafeteria with that young lady, or was this or that? Did we understand and did we actually execute what we wanted to do today in practice? Were we disciplined? Were we dedicated? So now taking that off the field, there are a lot of young men, mental, how you feeling? What's going on? Actually, coach, in blank, whatever may happen, you know what I mean? Well, do you have understanding with that, man?
Mm.
How you feeling about that? Well, what are ways maybe where that's messing with your discipline? Well, I'm slacking on school a little bit here, like that's why I'm weight room. I've been like this, So my MUD acronym, that I kind of run with, it's like a check-in. It's something that I did, and it's something that I do with my players that I feel outside of whatever other team rules and blizzy blizzy blah 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 blah. All my boys, any person who's ever been a part of my program, anybody who's ever been near me as a coach, they know MUD. They know to go back and check their MUD grade. They know what MUDD stands for, and I think that's something that again, I will always run with, no matter where I'm coaching, even if I went to another business and, I started doing something else. MUD is just my acronym. It's something that I feel like it allows you space to now at least do 4 quick check-ins that I think people are people want to talk about.
Mm.
You'd be amazed when you ask mentally, or mentally, how you feeling about, and again, insert whether it's about lacrosse, the personal, about the future. You know what I mean? You'll be amazed at what people start talking about. You know, um, and then the you understanding how you feeling about that. So my MUD acronym is something that I've always been doing for years.
I like that. I like that. Look, I'm over here like, yeah, shit, man. All right, look, but that's the thing. So I think collectively, do you and Dre, you as well, because I mean this is geared towards coaches per se, but have you run into it that like the applica? Hang on, have
Of
you
course,
run into it?
there's always somebody who falls off. But again, I think when they have their aha moment,
Uh,
MUD is what they usually come back to. And then, yeah, I get that text like, yo, coach, that MUD stuff was real, bro. You right. Like I had to get my mental right. I had to get some understanding about certain things, and that's why lacrosse maybe didn't work out. I wasn't disciplined, and I really wasn't dedicated. You know what I mean? And I think again, even guys who maybe didn't make it through the ringer with me, MUD is just something that always will stick with them. They will know what it is. They will know genuinely what it is I was trying to tell them, to tap in with.
For me, so I didn't coin this phrase. I heard it when I was at my high school playing, but I kind of per se because I so when I was in football. We always said boys, gentlemen, championship, and like I always and like my teams always get hyped. I just get hyped, and I tell them, and I broke it down for them one time what it meant, and I was like, that doesn't mean. I was like, this doesn't mean that you don't lose. Win, learn, never lose. I was like, I think when you think of teams that reach the pinnacle, you like every person that was ever a champion, they had to find rise above little voice, that little wall of doubt, and a little bit of chaos that's going on, and figure out what's important now. Think about all the acronyms. That's literally what spells out there. You got to think about what's important
Yes.
and rising above that mentality, that and ignoring the defeatist mindset, that's what gets you to that champion state. Like, yes, there's literal winning championships. That's literally what happens and what matters in sports. There are winners and losers in life. That's two results that are guaranteed. That is what happens.
You,
But where I think there's a difference between winning and losing a game versus being a winner and loser in life. I feel like you are a loser in life when you allow your setbacks, your circumstances, and your pitfalls to keep you down.
Yeah,
But a winner just keeps going, just keeps going.
because there's even
I
lessons in losing, you know.
yeah, that's probably the thing is like, can somebody outwork you enough in whatever the situation calls for, right? Where it's like, if you've never been presented with that situation, sometimes you might be able to kind of skate through it or become successful just based out of luck, circumstance, maybe with attributes that are given to you, right? But in the same sense, you're going to be like, someone's going to surpass you. So, Shaun, for you, just to give you a little bit more in my background. So after I left, I played at a Division III college, played club soccer, at a, I think like mid-tier level. But then ended up going in Division III and then ended up coaching, but also playing semi-professionally, playing and getting offered a chance abroad. But I became the youngest director of coaching in the U.S. under like the U.S. USSF, which
Yes.
is the governing body of like all club soccer across the U.S. So my thing was necessarily like, I want to give as much opportunity as possible, but I also understand that like, it's going to become more cost oriented for American soccer. But again, that's only because I got to play a little bit abroad. And then when I was playing at Wilmington College, we got to go abroad and we did a course in learning about like the American sporting system versus um, the European academy system.
It's a
So
lot
you're
more farm teams.
yeah, so you're playing like players across multiple sports, and then you can basically do that as a sorting process, but you can make, if they have a proficiency towards this versus that, then you give them the option and you allow them to choose, but you can look at the upside of what they can do. So most American sporting systems are built in that way up until a certain point, but there's a stopgap that usually happens maybe at age 10, and then
Mm.
everybody goes into their specific sport of like, you need to develop. So you have a 5-tier system of development. Now you have an very early, probably like an average, you have a late, and you have a very late. Now,
Very
what's dependent upon all of that are the environment for development, so that actually gives that player fundamental understanding, and then how do they take that understanding and then adapt it to their own development. So do I get through physicality? Do I get through like mental recognition and cognition of like plays, setups, formations, all those things? Because that's basically what you have,
this year. Mm-hmm.
right? And then from that, am I able to work within a system that's not, that is, one, suited on my strengths, and then two, can I take things that I'm not necessarily strong at and make them assets? That's what I'm talking about. I love
I
it.
mean, that's why, I mean, shoot, I watched Lose Soccer. There was a guy, Endrick, I really bumped with Endrick, who was over at he was with Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I kind of just took a liking to him. He was real young, like Lamine Yamal. I took a liking to both of them because they're really young. They're on these powerhouse teams now. I think Lamine had a lot more early success. He's still having a lot of good success, but with Endrick, he unfortunately got bought by Real Madrid, and I think during that time they
Mm.
got a new coach who didn't really believe in him, and in my opinion, kind of stunted his growth a little bit, or was trying to intentionally stun his growth. He ends up going to Lyons on loan, and he like is having like like the best season like people have ever seen in like that league, and
Yeah,
they're like
absolutely.
projected maybe to beat PSG, and it's like whoa, but I would love to hear like just how he felt during that time and he feels now. Just talking again to like what you were speaking to just in soccer, I feel like that situation right there is a perfect example of like Endrick. You know what I mean? I think he finally got in a system. He's around a culture and people who just really genuinely care for him, and like they're putting him in positions to be successful, and it's allowing him to work on the other assets, that maybe he wasn't going to be able to get an opportunity with Real Madrid.
Do you, Dre or Shaun, what's the best archetype that if you had to go based on that five system, right? So if you know like the development system of like each player, what's the best type or archetype player that you feel like you work best with from a coaching perspective? Is it like the savant? So they have a very unique gift in what they can do, or is it the Iron Man, so to speak? The I can play any position. I might not be the best at that position, but I can fill in very good. Or do you have I'm trying to think. There's another format.
It's not the archetype, but my favorite type of player to coach is the coachable player.
Mm.
It may sound like real generic, but like if you are coachable, I can do so much with you.
Mhm.
You can be someone that's not the biggest, not the strongest, but if you're someone that you implicitly trust that, hey, I've been doing this longer than you.
Okay.
So logically speaking, I know how to get the best out of you, and as your coach, trust me enough to not put you in a position where you can't find a way to thrive. Like I had one kid this last year when he first came to us, he could not catch and throw and get a ground ball to save his life, but he hustled everywhere and he ran and he did 110%. And he asked me, eh, uh, he asked me every day after practice to the point where it was about to get a little annoying a little bit because I was just like, "Hey, you ask me every day," but I appreciate it. But he asked me every day, "Hey, what's something I could work on, coach?" And I told him like the same thing for a lot of the time was hit the wall, practice ground balls. And you know what he did for 15 minutes while he's waiting for his ride to come? He's at the field, hitting the wall, going 25 right, 25 left, switching, doing ground balls. He, and like, seeing how fast he developed over the season, I knew that like, that he was not just doing it just because coaches were hanging
Mm-hmm.
out at the field. Like, he was putting in the
Put in
work,
that
and
work.
he ended up getting the unanimous vote at the end of the season for most improved from because the coaches we vote on that one. The only award I let the JV kids vote on is the MVP one,
Mm.
but the other awards like defensive and offensive player and most improved coaches vote. He got unanimous across the board.
Mm.
There was no we didn't have to discuss it because we were like because I kid you not, I when he scored his first goal, I about nearly shed a tear because I had watched this kid
Put in all that
work on
work.
his shot. Not like he used to not be able to hit the broadside of a barn. And then he went and then like there was one game where he took like four shots and every single one of them just barely made it. And then like his first goal, he shoots it, bounces in the net, ball just rolls past the goalie, and I felt my soul jump out of my body because I watched this kid struggle to win so much. So seeing him win, I was like, "Yo, your win feels like I just won. I feel like I just won a marathon because I watched you succeed." And now he's one of them kids that's one of the swing players for varsity. He's not fully on varsity, but his improvement from where he started to where he's at now was so good that he did what I said. I said, you're going to work so hard, you're going to make yourself undeniable.
Mhm. I think you need a collective of all of them. Honestly, I know you would love to, I guess, have one archetype, but I think you need a little bit of all of them to build out a good team. You need guys who are going to be eager to develop. I'll start on the back end. The guys, the underdogs. You need those guys because they're going to continue to always grind. They're going to be the hungry guys. They're going to keep. They're going to keep they're going to stay on somebody's ass. They're going to make sure they know. Don't worry, my day going to come when you bump your head. And Coach about tired of telling you archetype 5 and 4 to do what y'all just naturally should be able to do, but your head not where it need to be. So, you keep messing around level 1 and 2, we gonna get y'all soon. Probably around junior year when y'all start putting in work. So I think you need a little bit of all of them. I think the key is getting them all. We were talking about earlier, just all the buy-in on a common system. In that Salisbury, we talk about the fence theory. There's a fence, and there's guys who kind of like hang on it in the middle. And you got the guys over here who doing the right things, and then you got the guys over here that kind of like I don't know if I'm bored in all this. And it's always about trying to get guys to jump off the fence and getting over the fence. My coach Berkman would say. So I think you need all the archetypes though to build a cohesive team. Everybody's needed. All different types are needed. For me, at least, I would say.
I agree. I think in essence, everything is balanced. So what, like you said, is having all archetypes.
But in a perfect world, 4s. I would take 4s in a perfect world.
Okay.
I wouldn't want 5s. There'd be too many big-headed dudes. I would take 4s in a perfect world. Maybe even 3s, because they're kind of in the middle and they're still hungry to develop a little bit. You might have to check some egos, but isn't there the egos are not too there yet. They might get cute after a real big game where they're like, oh, look at that, I just hit like 6 goals. And then you gotta kind of like, yeah, I get that, but now how are you gonna take them 6 goals and maybe get 4 assists now? How can you now take that success you had in the next game? How can you translate that maybe to success for a couple guys on your team? So for me, that's how I would look at it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's the one thing, maybe I would probably add this archetype to all of that, where it's, like you said, I want to have all parts and parcels of a complete team. Simultaneously, I know that there's balance where there's going to be some players that I can't control what their personality does, but maybe I know that they're very creative in unique and specific things that will help us get a victory. On the other side, I also know that I have a balance for the amount of players that I can't necessarily control in completeness per se.
Yeah.
I also have like the Boy Scouts, where it's like they're not on par with like how creative, but they can galvanize everybody else, and they are the extension of me on the field. Because I think collectively we have an idea as coaches in general, whatever the sport is, what your thumbprint looks like when your team goes to play on the field. Like, you have a style of play. I'm sure, Shaun, you have, I can already tell, probably more attack oriented. There's kind of a bravado that sits there somewhere. This is just me off first introduction. So I'm going to assume that there's a bravado. There's speed that in most cases comes from a flank position, right? But there's power that sits in the middle so that you really can't go. You have to go the furthest way away from the goal, because within like lacrosse, your goals sit somewhere in the middle, somewhat hockey, but like bigger field extended. So all your power, brute force, and whatever sits within this space in the middle, right? Your speed, your athleticism, like all them dudes that just shock and awe sit in like this weird kind of parentheses space in that mode.
Mm-hmm.
But the most unique athletic individuals that's where like your heart sits in the middle, your personality's on the outside. So each of these players has like a unique piece of who you might be as a coach. So that's your playing style per se, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. I got it. Listen, I just figured out lacrosse in 2 seconds.
I'm gonna pull up to Ohio one of these weekends when they do in Columbus. I'm gonna fly out there. We're gonna go. We're gonna have a great time.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna hold you. I've known a lot about lacrosse. I used to watch Syracuse. I became a big fan, and Dre knows this, and I've explained this on his podcast before. But I just grew up in a household full of like black athletes, and like we were supposed to know about all of our greats because there was purpose and understanding behind it. So it's struggle. It's getting over so many hurdles that you may have to compete in certain spaces that's unnecessary, but you have to work twice as hard to be viewed as half as good in most cases. Soccer being, but Jim Brown,
Yeah, he changed the game.
is the pinnacle of everybody in my family that knows lacrosse outside of like natives, right? Cherokee family based out of Georgia, all that. So there's understanding, but it's coming from like my grandfather's side, which is predominantly like a native and black background, and then my grandmother's side, which, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a lot of Southern. So I think there is some Blackfoot, but mostly Cherokee. Simultaneously, I know who Jim Brown is, and I know that man revolutionized everything within like American sport across the board, especially with multi-sports play. If not for Jim Brown, there would be no Bo Jackson. Now, if Bo Jackson played lacrosse, the greatest athlete we have ever seen in our lifetime, and everybody's going to have a panic attack. Imagine him playing, bro.
We're going to let Bo play.
Dude, are you trying to go 1v1? And he shoulder checks you?
You'd have been like the Gate brothers, bro.
Hey, Shaun.
You'd have been like the Gate brothers.
Shaun, I know you said you started out playing like attack and stuff. All right. So you in a 1v1 matchup. You have to pick between one of these three defenders. You have to dodge past them and score, and like whether they have a pole or a short stick, it don't matter. You just have to beat them. You have Brock Lesnar with a short stick. You have Bo Jackson with a long pole, and you have prime Mike Tyson with a short stick.
Can I change Tyson? Can I change Tyson?
Yeah.
Let me see. Ooh. If I'm gonna give you,
I'm going Bo with the long pole.
I would or
Duffy Bo with the long pole.
Bo Longpole is. Wait, you're going against Bo Longpole?
I'm surprised you didn't choose Brock.
Mike Tyson gonna bite me. He's not gonna use that lacrosse stick. He's just trying to clamp up.
Michael,
He gonna meet me at GLE and hug me.
ain't even playing with him.
But his foot. Yeah, listen, the only reason I'm like negating Mike is because
feet work.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a difference.
Feet work.
it's a different animal being in an
Okay,
open
okay,
field versus like that boxing ring is.
okay.
I
Let
think
me
what
switch out
doesn't
Mike
Brock?
real
I think
quick.
Brock Lesnar's daughter plays lacrosse or something like that.
No,
She's
she's
track and
shot
field
put.
at CSU.
Shot put.
She's got a record at the school actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let me switch out. Let me switch out Mike Tyson with uh prime prime Lionel Messi
No,
of
no, no,
Mexico.
no, 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 bro. We gotta give him like I'm talking
That's a
Tank
quick D
Man's.
midi.
Yeah, we gotta talk Tank Man's, bro. Let me
Oh,
see. So it doesn't even have to be. Do we?
because Brock's the
No.
bruiser, Bo's the
Oh,
athlete.
Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos with whatever stick you told Dre said for Messi. Because that nigga
Yeah,
gets
so
red cards all
Sergio
day.
Ramos,
It'd
Sergio Ramos with the joystick.
be like
I'm
Spalina.
still taking, man. I'm still dodging on
I
Brock.
mean, I'm dodging on everybody, no matter what. Whatever the
Brock,
outcome, you out.
Brock gonna hit me in the back and give me the flag. So I'm
Yeah.
going.
Like Sergio Ramos is definitely going to step on you after you score and
Again, I
get.
think with lacrosse, it's an amazing sport because anybody, any shape, size, like you can patent your game off of just what you are. You know what I mean? So I think that's dope.
I still think you crazy for picking Bo with that.
Right hand. I know, dude. I'm scared of Bo Jackson playing lacrosse. If that man is in open field and he's got to defend me, brother.
And and mind you, he's got a 6 foot pole, so he's creating the
Okay.
distance. And
Yeah. Now, who would you want to play defense against? Okay. Let me go. Deion Sanders.
Fair.
Attack. Let me go. Marshawn Lynch. Long pole. Let me go.
Marshawn would probably been a good midfielder.
damn right.
Let me see. So you, all right. So within
I think
lacrosse,
Ocho Cinco with the shorty too.
Oh hell.
yeah. Perfect. Ray Lewis.
There you go. Ray Lewis with a shorty, D mid.
Ray Lewis running down the hill to try to score. I ain't picking.
That's
Ray
how
Lewis.
Jim Brown looked. Have you ever seen footage of Jim Brown playing lacrosse?
Dude, he
Yeah,
was
no, I've
fucking
seen
bigger than everybody.
He was beating dudes
He was
up,
just
bro.
he was just
Man,
throwing
Ray
a stick over
Lewis
dudes'
knocked
heads,
the
like looked like they were
this
jogging.
man Ray
And he,
Lewis knocked the door off his hinges on Sports Science. I'm cool because he gonna truck me.
that man Jim Brown wasn't playing when he played lacrosse.
I don't know. I'm taking my chance with
He was
Marshawn with
just
the
like
ball.
over their head, scoot.
You know how much? 2-time All-American.
2 time. Mr. 2 time.
My boy Sammy was a 3-time.
Mm.
You think I'm not saying nothing away from OG Brown. But you think Jim Brown was good like during that time too? Granted the sticks and the evolution of lacrosse wasn't like that. But if you want to see a bad brother who played lacrosse, look up Sam Bradman.
We gonna definitely.
He bad. He was a bad boy.
I mean, for me, like I said, growing up, besides seeing Kyle Harrison and Chaz, when I saw the Brad
Them too.
at UVA,
Them too.
that like, oh man, them brothers.
Sam had better stats than them though, junior and senior year.
Okay,
That's a fact. That
I think
the data out
like,
there. Sammy was up for the Tawara time both years, 11 and junior and senior year.
It's
He had 9 goals.
like,
He had 8 goals in the 2011 national championship, setting the record against Tufts. Then he broke it in 2012 with 9.
Ain't never been a slouch.
9 points. I love the Bratons, but They wasn't better than Sammy B, man. One second.
Yo, the way, man, listen, the way that I wanted, I like, I get it. They're in different divisions, but the way that I would have loved to have watched a Salisbury, Adelphi game, or a Adelphi Tufts game, I would love that, because I watched that Division 3 championship that Tufts was in. I can't even remember the school they played, but I just know that game was not
Mm-hmm.
close.
Ooh,
it,
fellas.
it was like it was like 18-1 come like the end of first quarter. It was, bro, it was bad. It was it was
Got a question
it
for
was
both of y'all. And
what's
I
up?
feel like this might be controversial, but I digress because I feel like asking it. Greatest, the GOAT. Like, arguably, who gives a shit? There's no other number 2. Greatest lacrosse player of all time is.
To me, I would, in my era in watching, I would have to give it to Kyle. Or he didn't play long enough. I can't give it to him. I was gonna say Mikey Powell, but I would say Kyle, man. I
Kyle
know
Harrison,
Rabel, I know, but I would say Kyle. Kyle, in my opinion, Kyle created the lane for all those dudes to be able to do what they are doing, and how they were able to capitalize. Like, Kyle was the real first ever endorsed lacrosse player ever. Like, Nike SCX gave him like a contract and was a legit kind of like, yo, just create it how you do, bro. Like, they were paying him, like they were paying his health care. This is on top of him doing all the other stuff he's doing throughout lacrosse. Like, he made it possible for guys to start getting the type of opportunities they're getting.
I ain't saying this just because he gonna see this clip, but like I said, for me, Kyle Harrison is the GOAT. Like, to put it in lacrosse terms, for what Jordan is for
Mm-hmm.
basketball,
Oh, is
that's
that
how I
for us?
view
Yeah, he's that for
lacrosse.
lacrosse. Like I said, he set
And
up.
like, yeah, and like in the same vein, the way that in the same vein, another comparison, how like AI brought swag to basketball, Chaz Woodson brought swag to lacrosse. Like, Chaz was so
Ah,
swaggy with
okay.
it. That's that's like, those are two dudes that I feel like you really can't tell the story of black folks in lacrosse
See, but
without,
that's
along with
but
Jim
it,
Brown.
it's never obviously like we're going to gravitate towards players of color, right? But in the same
Bro,
sense, we also understand like, yo, fuck all the dumb shit. Who's the best player?
y'all
Yeah,
ready for
type
this?
shit, right?
Y'all ready for this? You sure?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
Go for it.
So 2011, Sam Bradman had 55 goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In 2012, he had 71 goals. The Brattons didn't even finish their senior year out at Virginia. Trying to tell you something. They be mad at me because I be telling. I'm a historian. I already knew this for years. I got one better for y'all. He had more goals than the person we just named the GOAT, unfortunately. Way more. In junior and senior year. By a lot. Go pull it up. Go pull up his senior year numbers.
I'm talking about Sam Bradman. That's one of the best numbers. That is the number 12 at
But
Salisbury. That
no,
is
again,
the number.
Kyle always gets the baton because he created the lane for all the guys that were coming next on how they could have carried their career. He gets the GOAT talk, and he put the years in the pros. This is just college stuff. Sammy got what he deserved from college. He was player of the year, All-American. No, from pros, he's the GOAT. I give him that. But when it comes to that shit in college, and this is the only time I curse because I watched this man do this for 2 years, and I was like, "There's nobody better than him," and I haven't seen nobody do nothing like he was doing. 71 goals, and we were stacked on a stacked team. Like he know, Andre know. Like my 2012 team, we team of the decade.
They were.
Like we were stacked, bro, and he still had 71. Matt Canoni.
Bruh, I watched
Matt
I
Canoni.
watched that
Matt, you know Matt
game.
Hold
Canoni? You
on,
heard that name
bro.
before?
How many?
67 assists.
Hold on. How many
Canoni had
games?
130 points.
How many games is played?
We played
During-
22 games this year because we had playoffs.
And he had 71.
He had 71 goals for the whole season. Matt Canoni, the attackman, one of our best, he had 67 assists. Canoni had 130 points. We're not even talking about Tony Mendez, Eric Crum, Ryan Clark popped off this year. He was only like a sophomore. Lance Carter, Corey Nowak. And
What the
Sam
fuck are we
had
talking
71
about,
on
bro?
himself.
Hold on. So that's like, so you're telling me these niggas were prime Barcelona when Messi scored
was
91
wildin'.
goals type shit? Like, what the fuck are we in a calendar season? So
Look.
you're telling me, so they had 20 something. Hold on, man. Hold on. Because I'm trying to, you're telling me this is like combined Barcelona shit.
Oh, yeah, we
Right?
ran it.
So you're telling me that this nigga had 71. You had another nigga that had 63 assists, which is fucking
130
crazy.
points, and he had 130 points. So I didn't even calculate how many goals he had. He had 130 points though. They gave us how many assists he had. They gave us the starter marker, 67. So 130 minus 67 quick is how many goals he had.
Then you had a sophomore doing what?
Ryan Clark, he had a pretty good year too. And then we had the face-off man of the year, Tyler Granelli. He won 242 face-offs. We had a defender who had 50 caused turnovers. The same face-off guy had 164 ground balls.
Listen, they was out here.
We had 12. We had 12 All-Americans, first team. In our major awards, Sam Bradman, Player of the Year. Matt Canoni, Attackman of the Year. Sam Bradman, Midfielder of the Year. Dean Rossi, D-Mid of the Year. Tyler Granelli, Face-Off Specialist of the Year. Andrew Sellers, Defenseman of the Year. Jim Berkman, Coach of the Year. Jim Berkman, Howdy Myers, Man of the Year. Sam Bradman, Cat Player of the Year. Jim Berkman, Cat Coach of the Year. So we ran the table. We took all awards too. We went to the Grammys.
That's tough.
Went to the Grammys with oh, my bad. We're not gonna walk up the stage. Give me that. Oh, we the next spot. Yeah, we got a bus to catch. Just give me all that.
The glitz and the glamour of Division One. But hey, bro, listen. While folks don't understand, D2 and D3 is where it's at. And
I mean, it's the same shit.
I want to just
Boy,
say,
from Adelphi, you gotta watch out for him, man.
Well,
Kyle Lewis.
Kyle Lewis. Hey, but look,
Kyle Lewis. That boy, the truth.
Of that matchup, like I was out there for NCAA weekend, like that weekend. Besides watching UNC's women's team, which was phenomenal. Chloe Humphrey, I'm a stan. Anyways, that being said, that Tampa versus Adelphi matchup was the best game I saw all weekend. And if anybody disagrees, argue with your mom, your therapist, your pastor. I don't care who, because you cannot convince me otherwise.
Young ball D's.
Like that game, that back and forth game, like the energy. Well, like I said, I've seen plenty of Division I lacrosse games, but like that last year for being like in person for the NCAA Final Four. I've seen D2 lacrosse played and stuff, but like I had never gotten to be in person at a D2 lacrosse game and a D3 lacrosse game, and the energy is just different.
Wow.
It feels like it means
it's the Wild Wild West, bro. I'm trying to tell you, man. Any given day, I'm seeing scores for the last couple of weeks, and like I'm like, wow. You know, teams that normally, who were like, notable, like, that's their game, and you go check back at the game, and and I think what's happening is guys, again, in the transfer portal, guys are not getting that D1, so they're like, screw it. You know, a lot of guys are starting to transfer over to D2s, and then I think a lot of the COVID 5th-year, 6th-year guys, I think their time finally ran out. You know,
Most of them's
so
gone
I
now.
think yeah, so I think lacrosse is kind of, you know, it's kind of balancing back out to where um, the top D2s who have a lot of money are not able to just, you know, and bring all these transfers in and just, you know, have the better opportunity to run it up. So, I mean, Adelphi, in my opinion, they're on their last year of their transfer portal crew. But a little from Mr. Lewis to give my brother AHun the Shogun some context on this brother who had Adelphi. This young man, by the way, has 2 national championships winning in 24 and 25 for Adelphi. This young man, his sophomore year, had 30 goals, 21 assists, 51 points. Then to come back his junior year, win another national championship, have 37 goals, 35 assists, 72 points. He's only played in 2 games so far this year because the team's only played 2 games. He has 4 goals and 7 assists already, 11 points. Only taken 5 shots. He's only missed 1 shot. His 80% shooting percentage. He's 100% on the goal. So that means the 1 shot that he missed, it went over the net or some stuff. All the other shots he's taken this year that went on the net, they went in, Shogun. They went in.
Crazy work. Crazy work.
Hey, Shaun, what they doing over at Virginia Wesleyan? Because why did they put up 24 goals on Golford? What are they doing at Virginia Wesleyan?
So I mean, like, no, lacrosse is very, very just. I feel for us, it's very special. You know what I mean? And for the brothers that can play, they're able to do some pretty unique stuff. I'll even talk about the women's side. My cousin C.D.B, she plays for the MD Charm, and it was pretty cool to watch her play. You know, she's probably one of the only sisters out there representing on the women's front, the WLOL, and she's pretty good. You know, she got a nice little bop to her game. You know, I hope that she takes my offer and comes down to Virginia, and she lets me like train her up a little bit and tighten up some stuff. There's some things Cuzzo saw in the game, her game, that I would like to touch up on so she can really take advantage of these ladies. But no, she had like 2-3 goals in the game and, you know, a couple assists. So yeah. And the crazy part is we found out we were cousins like over this weekend. That's the funny part. Well, she found out. I knew we were cousins, but I never wanted to like, cause she went to Loyola. She was having her own glow up. She was about to get drafted, and her dad, Harry Black, went to Virginia State where I coach right now. He was he used to be on the president's board and stuff like that. So he actually hired the president that we have here right now, President Abdullah. And I kind of just kept that hush here at Virginia State. Like, I don't want people thinking, you know, but I have a family member who is kind of heavy hitter here at Virginia State. You know what I mean? Um, I knew his daughter was C.D.B, and she was at Loyola at the time, and watched a couple of our games, and I'm like, dang, I saw her stats. I'm like, dang, she's really good, you know. Um, but I wanted her to have her moment, and just I wanted it to happen organically, naturally when we cross paths. I didn't want to be some weird dude out of nowhere sliding in her DMs like, hey man, I'm your cousin, you know. Like, that's a little weird, you know. So I just let it happen organically. I happened to meet her this past weekend.
Hold up.
Yep.
There we
There
go.
she go. Like I said, she got some game. She got some game. You have to get her up there.
That is, yep.
You know, she has a really unique story. Like, you know, moved around a lot. You know, she didn't learn lacrosse in like one of the natural hotbeds that I would say. You know, she didn't learn lacrosse in Maryland or in Long Island or upstate New York. You know, she started playing, I believe, in Virginia area, but then she moved to like Cincinnati, moved around in Ohio. You know, um, she's based in LA, like in California now. That's where the family lives. But she moved around a little bit, and I can only imagine that, you know, to harness your craft and not really be in a hotbed and then have to move around a little bit. I'm pretty sure she had moments where I said, like, she had to do some soul searching and figure out how she really wanted to get to her end goal, because I know she always wanted to go and play lacrosse once she started playing. So I think she figured it out. And
And I think one of the coolest things for me was that, like, so we met last year at Champ
yep,
Series, and I was just so impressed with, like, watching her play, because, like, for me, like, I was explaining to, like AHun would tell you this, like, I was talking to the group chat about it. I was like, guys, I was like, watching her play. I was like, yo, I was like, watching her play. It's literally like I'm watching freaking Steph Curry. Like when she does this ISO,
when
like
she
I'm like,
dodges,
oh, this
she
girl
flow.
be on. And then, like, the fact that, like, a whole calendar year later, she saw me, like, and I was like, yo, Sydney, can I get a picture? She's like, yeah. She's like, it's so good to see you again. Like, I was hoping I didn't see you. And I was like, you remember me? Love it. But also, like, it's for one, I love, like, seeing more of us take up space.
Even
Vince's
though
father,
brother BJ, with the Redwoods,
yeah,
another young brother
yeah,
out
he,
there, he had a nice
uh,
little, road to get into the pros. He went to UPenn. Um, he initially got the call to come into the league, and then he went through like a practice or a tryout process, and then he got like cut. And he had to kind of wait another year. He kind of just stayed in shape, played up, and then he kind of got his big break. So I was able to connect with BJ, real nice guy. Um, I gave him the same pitch, man. You and Sydney need to get your behinds down here, Virginia State at the mud, and y'all need to come train. You
Ooh.
know, because I watched your game, and that's another side of what I do. I kind of do like the foot doctor, like those guys when all that was getting big. Um, I kind of was doing that for lacrosse. I call it the mud walkers. I've kind of archived and hid a lot of my stuff because people was taking my stuff, but I was like the foot doctor for lacrosse, and I was putting pressure on dudes, you know, and that's really my calling. Like I would love to be able to do that one day, like just go in my own facility and just run kids through the mud, as I call it. Just all these different drills. I got all these hexagons. You can have them dodging the dummies, and I think that side is fun because it allows kids, even guys in high school or college, to just be creative. And I think that's what a lot of kids want in lacrosse more than anything. They want a space where they can like be creative and not really be made into a robot.
That's probably okay. So I want to
Lacrosse
add
is
on
too
to this,
lacrosse
right?
is too of a freelance sport. Say even that's we run motion before we go into that shogun. We run a lot of motions. Or we
Uh,
can run a lot of what they call pairs offense now. But in order to really like take those type of systems to the next level, you kind of gotta let the player be read and react. You
ah,
can't make them into a robot. You know what I mean?
my nigga is talking. Bow, 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 bow,
Yeah.
bow. No, seriously. So, oddly enough, right? Like, I'm an Arsenal fan, Arsenal supporter. In regards to like maybe my own coaching style, it's a mix between like American, like just grit, toughness, all like we're gonna outwork you because that's the American way, like that He-Man
Yeah.
activity type shit. But it's also like a mixture of like a Dutch where like whether or not you have the ball, you are always playing total football. So it's dependent upon who is in possession, right? So how you play defensively, everybody is a defender based on if the
Yes.
team does not have collective possession of the ball. Everybody is an attacker from keeper to attack, right? If the somebody on the team has possession of the ball or whatever it is that can allow us to score. Um, but then on the same sense, like you had just mentioned, Shaun, is like the it's like if there was also a Brazilian side of things, because I had one of my club teammates was a Brazilian and like it's super impactful, uh, and his thing was like he was more of like a player that you really couldn't control, or like you just had to do your best to harness him in a direction that allows him to be successful as much as possible, right? Where
Hmm.
it's like off of which, like for y'all it'd be a face off, but if you could score directly from like a kickoff, he's that dude. He did that first game in a tournament where it's like, hey man, I just need you to kick this a little bit. Keeper standing off his line. I don't give a fuck what's happening. Just kick the ball. You see that spot right there? Like, I just need you to put it this far in front of you. Closer to me, but away from you, but this far. Like, that style. So it's like a homogenous idea of we can do all of these things, but I also am going to play this way, but be ambiguous in thought. So if this team is playing against me where it makes it more difficult for me to be creative, then I have an avenue. I'm still not going to be a robot, and this is the only way I think, and this is the only way that works. The conversation around soccer as a whole across the globe is everybody's trying to play these system versions, and it's robotic. You don't allow for certain players to be creative or allow for them to express themselves, and it's like this way doesn't work. Okay, we got plan B, we got plan C, we have this other way, but there's no like spontaneity, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So what it sounds like is that also within lacrosse is there's been probably some type of you have to play this system. If that doesn't work and they have this is what we've got to do, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, for us here at Virginia State, when you have some young men who maybe they played more in a predominantly white system, when you
Uh-huh.
come here now, you're kind of trying to like, because I look at lacrosse different. Like, I mean, yeah, I know how to run their offenses, but I look at how like I want to run offense, which is predicated more to like speed and space, because I know again we have speed. You know what I mean? If you give us space, there's some things that we can do. I like to send cutters, like you said, from the middle or the backside to get to the heart because that's where they have to slide from. Um, but I find I have to try to like undo some of what they were coached because they just think it's gospel. They're not getting that's just a system on how that team went. They think that's the be all tell all when they get here, and then I'm like fighting with guys, and I gotta show them film from other colleges, and I'm like, man, why I gotta do this? I'm the coach. Like, this is what we're doing.
Mm.
So you
Somebody
know,
asked me,
Yeah, like dude, shut up.
get on the line. Get on the
so
line.
but we usually get to where we need to get to. They usually hit some roadblock where they're like, I'm not understanding why it's not working, and then I'm very savvy with huddle. I'll film. We have just plays, which is a way we can do an animated playbook for them. Um, and when we have film sessions, no, the eagle don't lie, as I call it. So after a while of just trying to do your own thing or just not really getting what we're doing, a lot of guys start to conform. But I think one of the biggest things is just, trying to whitewash a lot of what a lot of our young men have been taught. They're not really whitewashing, it just being like, hey, take what you were taught there, but you learn a new system. It's college now. This is what we do here. But I think they're trying to dumb
Um,
down a lot. I think they're trying to dumb down a lot of systems, in my opinion, too. Like, I think they're trying to make lacrosse a lot more basic, where lacrosse used to be phases of offenses. You go from set to set to set to set to set. Now I feel like it's pairs, 2-man game. Like it's all like cliche now, in my opinion. I think everybody's waiting for somebody to figure out the next thing so they can all learn it. That's my opinion. I think lacrosse is at a standstill where they're waiting for the next new thing.
they,
Because
they
everybody
all
did to the 10-man ride. Everybody did the
all I
10-man
gotta do
ride.
is just cut out.
To
Everybody,
the point where everybody was
got
scoring against each other all season. but
I gotta cut
everybody
out
need to
lacrosse and
learn
just
how to
put
do it.
soccer, and it's the same thing. I
It means
think
nothing.
it's weird though that again, like I said, like I'm more so view lacrosse from like a fan. I still don't know
But
all
you
the
know what you're talking
haptics,
about. But you know what you're
but
talking about.
I can understand it just based on from a coaching perspective, from a soccer standpoint, it's space. So, oh, okay, cool. Well, we kind of play within 3 lines. I think that
Same size field.
even in
That's why
most
soccer players do so well.
yeah, most things are played within like a 3 line to 4 line set. If you look at hockey, maybe lacrosse, soccer.
I think hockey. I would say hockey more for us because like how you guys like to get the ball down the side and maybe you like try to cross it.
Uh-huh.
The hockey aspect that would come in is like we would actually want to use somebody to go behind the net so we can transfer it. So when y'all work down the sides or cross it, we kind of more want to like work down the side, get it through behind the net as we call X, because now that guy sees everything that's coming down on a transition play.
Okay. So it's downhill attack towards goal,
Yep, and
but
then we have
from like
somebody
a
who can be, somebody can be behind net for us, you know. So I think that's where that hockey kind of twist comes in, where, um, being able to go behind the net, but we have a bigger space too, than
oh
hockey
shit, did I
And
just
your
figure out
X-Men don't
hockey?
and box
X-Men don't
lacrosse too. Box
no.
lacrosse uses the same structure that a hockey arena would use.
Well, and your X-Men for field, they gotta be like not just smart, but they also gotta be athletic. Because your X-Men, he's backing up shots. So if you get the ball up top and your dude up top takes a shot and you miss it, because of how the rules are, when the ball goes out of bounds, the player
Closest to the ball gets
closest to
possession.
where the
Right,
ball went out
is
of
the
bounds is
person that starts off, right?
yep.
Okay,
And so
so
that's why
I
they got
know that. I know
X-Men.
that.
And that's why your X-Men has to be not just intelligent, but they also have to be quick. Because if dude up top sails the ball and the goalie or one of the poles beats your guy, yeah, you did yourself a disservice.
Right,
That's why you
because
never
then
really
they
see
they
play
get
around.
to start off. They're going back, like most of, from my understanding, within soccer is that no one wants to be without possession of the ball,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because it makes for everything just seems harder. So if you're chasing the ball, then you're more winded, like you're depleting your energy. You're like now you're defensively you're trying not to make a mistake, but you don't even have the mindset or the wherewithal to even think, what am I going to do once we get possession? We just got to defend first and then get the ball. Now, okay, what's next? And then be able to think. Now, the more you run and you chase and you're going after the ball, the less comprehensive capability you have in order to attack once you get it. I feel like I know. I just figured out hockey and lacrosse all within the same night, dog.
Yeah. But no, you're on. You're on. And now when you go back to your archetypes, you know what I'm saying? We were talking about earlier. I think for us in lacrosse, you can start depending on how you want to play that, because in the same regard of us talking about that transition that's happening, there's
Mm-hmm.
also a factor where the defense is trying to stop that. And in college, you have a shot clock as well. So you have teams offensively who they know that if you can pressure the defense to not be able to get set up and you can actually speed up your offensive play and your transition, you actually have an advantage. You know what I mean? But I think it allows us now, when you know how you want to play in lacrosse, especially with how it's structured. I think back to what we were talking about before now, the archetypes and how you're recruiting now and how you're trying to balance out your team. You know, fives want to score all the goals. They want to do all the highlighty stuff, in my opinion. And where lacrosse gets dirty is on the face-off, getting ground balls, getting back in the hole, so now they don't get that easy transition. And that's just where you're going to get a lot of your 3-2s and your 1s. You know, your 4s and your 5s are the guys who are your dressing outside, your personality outside. You know, but who's going to go in that inside when we need somebody to just keep running maybe every play to pull as a decoy? You may get it only once or twice. We're pulling it for the other dressing really though. You're a decoy all the time. Can you do that? You know what I'm saying? I think that's where, again, not knowing your archetypes and how you're trying to build your team out, you know where you can put certain people, you know what kind of they will do. At least for me, I know what somebody will and won't do, because I'm kind of talking to them about it on their recruiting trip or throughout the recruiting process. Well, this is where we see you here, or there. So now when that moment comes up, you're not surprised. The best if you develop, you're doing this. If you mediocrely develop, like half-ass, you would be here. If you just stay the way you are, like how you came in the fall, this is where you will be. You know what I mean? Now you have the ability to climb that ladder of what I've put out there for you. Here's step one.
Give me a team full of 2s and 3s, and I promise you, we the games we win will not be pretty. But I'm telling you, if I have a team of 2s and 3s, we win in most of them games because they gonna scrap. Like every play is gonna matter. Every shot's gonna matter. Because where you win your lacrosse games is the plays that happen in between the lines. In between the lines is where you win your lacrosse games. It's because listen, like Shaun said, in college you have an 80-second shot clock. When you don't have the ball, that 80 seconds feels like an eternity, especially if you are down two or three goals and there is 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. That 80 seconds is an eternity.
So, question: shot hits, goal reset, shot clock. Okay. That's what I thought it was, but I just wasn't sure because I've never had it. Again, I'm learning lacrosse through Dre. So I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well, historically, listen, I just knew Native families like, hey, big dog, try this out. It's soccer, but with hands and hockey in the air. What? Yeah, nah, just don't let your cousin hit you because he smacks shit out of everybody.
Hey, Shaun, let me ask you this. If like at the I guess like and I'm sure this is probably an answer that's gonna constantly change for you as you continue in this sport. But like right now, what's your end game with lacrosse?
I think there's a couple. I'll give it to you 3 parts. One, I in a perfect world would love to stay here at Virginia State as long as I could, um, as long as financially and contractually things work out, because there's other things that I've kind of already started working on in this area, like trying to start a youth program at Petersburg. My next plan would be at Ettrick, which is right here, the town near here, Prince George, which is maybe 15 miles away, Dinwiddie, and Colonial Heights. So I actually have a plan to merge the 5 towns, they call it. Within the 30-mile radius, I'm trying to get lacrosse heavily really running throughout all the elementaries, middle schools, and high schools. I was partnering with US Lacrosse, but I feel like a bigger partnership may be coming. Hopefully, I know I've been praying for that like crazy, but my plan is to unite this whole 30-mile radius outside of before Richmond, just with lacrosse, equipping everybody with at least grassroots for right now. I put it to you this way. What Shogun was kind of hinting to earlier about American and European differences in how they structure youth organizations. I've been tapped into that since maybe about 2015. It's kind of what we did at Sweet Lax. So again, I'm not trying to give too much game because I want it to actually play out what I'm doing, but I think I have a template on how at least the mud area is going to be ran, and the way I think it needs to be done. You can't we kind of got to safeguard how we develop our kids, and I think the best way is having them play each other and maybe not having them go out and be exposed to what they just don't have and what they're not ready for. So
Mm.
I'm trying to build a little bit of a farmer system that will generate into one bigger team that really goes around and starts pounding on people. But I think it's still important to give the other kids who are maybe not on that level an area where they can continue to play, develop, and also have games and be able to have lacrosse. So I'm leaning
Mm.
more toward European style
Academy
structure of
system.
what I'm doing. So that's B2. I kind of want to see that whole plan play out. And the third would be BME, business that me and my bro Lance Carter and Nick Hazel we started, and right now we're working heavily on the event side, running events for minorities. We have the BME experience we did at Sparks US Lacrosse last year. It's a combine for kids 9th to 11th, and then we do a all-star senior like kind of showcasing all of our seniors of minority descent. And we did our first one last year, went very, very well. In the fall, we just did the combine. We called that underdogs. It's just, again, for the 9th to seniors. They just want to get some development. We bring coaches in around them. This year, we already did the underdogs in November, and we're pushing hard to do two BME experiences this summer. One down in Atlanta, which we're planning right now, Memorial Weekend, and then we would come back home to Maryland and we'd run the second annual BME experience again. The next side I know we're working heavily on is apparel, just getting our own stuff. We're very black. We're very black, entrepreneurial minded. Thinking this group, this collective, me, Lance, and Nick Hazel, and we're really trying to be intentional about when people see us. We're wearing more of our stuff, our brands. We're kind of tired of putting money into other companies and other people who don't want to really work with us in this space. So,
which I did just buy a Black's bucket hat.
we got Black Slacks as well, which I'm an ambassador for. That's Lance's dad's company, which was the original way that a lot of guys played in the B-More area. That was the funding, the non-for-profit. We're also switching Black Slacks into a streetwear brand. So Coach Carter kind of gave me and Lance the helm of this 25-year-old non-for-profit business. So now me and Lance are kind of pivoting it with what we see is going on in lacrosse. So we have two streetwear brands we're really pushing. We got our event side we're really pushing. I'm about to get back to content that Mud Walkers I was talking about, just kind of trying to give kids the visual of drills and things that they can push their mind to do. My boy Nick Hazel is the non-for-profit side. He has BCLC. He runs a lot of community engaged lacrosse programming in Baltimore. They just had a league. We're heavily involved in the Sixers Pro League, just really helping that run better in the Maryland area. We actually helped start the Maryland Sixers Prize League with the gentleman who started that league. So we're kind of in a lot of different worlds. Not Nick. Lance is a certified agent, so I know he's trying to get an NIL in and just helping lacrosse players that are minorities to maybe achieve better deals, because I think sports agent in the realm of lacrosse is like foreign. I think maybe the top 1% have it, while 99 other percent don't even know that they could probably get representation and pull a lot more opportunity for themselves. So again, we just kind of saw where the sport was going years ago, and we've really just been trying to put ourselves in a position to really capitalize. We also help our brother Dev Maxwell with the Catalina event he does out in Catalina Island.
Fucking Catalina wine mixer.
Oh yeah, we got our own Catalina wine mixer.
What, dude?
We partner with our boy Nescadell. And we usually try to send some kids out to Sandstorm, which I think is one of the best tournaments to be able to play out there for a whole week.
Where's that one held
That was
at?
out in California at the Polo Grounds.
Okay.
Got the fucking Catalina wine mixer.
You know what else is crazy? So, he's not afraid to toot his own horn, but I'm gonna toot his horn for him. AHun actually does a lot with streetwear brand.
That.
He actually does a lot arts wise too. He's done he did a very, very phenomenal jacket with the Cincinnati Bengals design on it. it was dope. It was definitely dope when he sends us like pictures of
I
it all the time.
I
Well,
I
I know this.
list.
I know more than this being a podcast. I know a greater connection is probably being formed here. Like I said, I think
Mhm.
the biggest thing we're missing in lacrosse, and this probably happens in soccer. I can't speak to it, but I think the biggest thing that's missing, especially in the minority space in lacrosse, is that a lot of us have like some crazy ideas, but we're trying to do it on our own, and we walk past people that actually, if we ask, they probably have something we need to help us push that idea. And I think that's the biggest thing we on the black side miss. I think we walk right past people all day who could actually be helping us with a project or a vision we have.
Oh man, I've always been the dude that like I can help more people than I can hurt them, right? Now, mind you, if you give me enough time, either way we can go. But at the end of the day, like ultimately, I think that collectively, most people can do more when it's shared, like effort,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus like trying to fight uphill, trying to work very hard, and mind you, you can get like I think just from this conversation, right, having the time spent and the conversations, and like Dre has kept all of us up to speed, and he's texted like the network group just in total like, oh man, I wish you guys could check out who I'm with right now. Oh, look what I got. And I geek out because it's the fact that like not everybody wants to be like the first player, but most people don't understand that they're playing a co-op RPG. You see what I'm saying? Where it's like collectively you can get further in the game if you work with people.
Mm-hmm.
And most are kind of too dumb to get out of their own way because they can only see and view in first player.
Yep. But they again, I think to win a championship, you got to be very selfless.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I think my system, I think I was blessed with getting system implemented in me like firm,
Yeah.
only being around championship culture, and you learn just what you can and can't do, So I think I'm again versed on knowing what I can and can't do. And you just gotta stick to it. It's very simple. I think KISS, I think keep it simple, son.
Ah,
I tell my players
dude, my fucking mom. Well, I
I
think
tell my players
most.
that all the time, KISS, and they're like, "What? Why are you talking about that group for?" I'm like, "Keep it simple, son. Like, don't make it hard. Don't like, don't
Yeah,
change it.
military.
Don't
I
change it
think
not
most
broke."
military parents also say that. I know my mom definitely did. So I was like, "Yo, why? Listen, I'm not trying to
You know what's funny?
listen to the clown face guys right now."
You know what's funny
But
when I met him last year, Mr. Carter. It's so funny. He always tells me I don't have to call him Mr. Carter, but I call him Mr. Carter because I respect him that much, and that's how I am. So Lance's father. But but when I was telling him about the network for the first time, he was like, and I was telling him about like how much different like other areas like the network is in between. Because at that point we didn't even have the sneaker pod yet, but we have the sneaker pod, the soccer
Hmm.
pod, the sports pod, everything. And he was like, "Good." He was like, "I like when we take up more space." And
dude,
and I was like, "What you mean?" And like we had a nice little like 10-minute conversation, and he talked to me about his time at Morgan State. And like I at that point in time I was like just like because again the definition of ignorance is just not knowing, but I was like ignorant of the whole story. Like I just didn't know. And you know he told me he just told like just getting to hear from him and getting to hear like his story. Like I felt so privileged, and I was like, this is great. This is
Well,
like I love
to
this.
go back to OG real quick. I know, but to go back to OG Kyle, one thing that stuck out at the panel we had on Monday was um he talked about he wished in his journey a little bit that he leaned on more of the OGs. So more the people like Coach Carter, more the people who kind of were on like some of the HBCU front trying to like get stuff going, or some of the guys who are a little bit more in on some of the pro community endeavors, and now he's sitting at the retirement point of his career, and he's pivoting on what it is he really wants to do and not do. He has a daughter who now plays it. So, but I know that's something that stuck out to me that he had said on Monday, that he wished that he maybe leaned on, some black OGs a little bit more to see maybe what more he could have done before finishing out playing and now being in this lane of, um, just pushing lacrosse from a different lens.
Yeah. And for me, like it's so like funny because where Kyle like sits at right now, I know that like soon there's gonna be kids that, and I know there are kids right now that do regard him like that, but like there's gonna be kids that regard like guys like
Miles
Miles,
Jones, yep.
guys like Romar, yeah, guys like Trevor, like
True.
they
Dane
like they're
Smith
gonna
in the
be
box game, it's a bad
dude,
boy.
man. Josh Byrne and Dane Smith are two of the like one of my favorite players, man. As a Mammoth fan, I hate when we play Buffalo, but damn,
Boys is good up there.
but like I
Very
think for
hard
me,
for for fans to be non-biased, but when you do have a knowledgeable enough fan that can say, you know what, I would love to have him on my team, hate to play against him or her.
Shoot, were they on a
Right?
2-peat, 3-peat, Buffalo?
yeah, they're on 3-peat.
Oi,
They ain't doing it this year.
Nah, yeah,
They do
I
it this
agree. I think there's some teams that they've
but
they've tightened some holes. This is the most box
shoot,
lacrosse
man,
I've watched this year.
Latrell Harris is probably one of my favorite players to watch because he just
Another
gritty.
one, yep, Latrell, yep.
He like I said, there's like kids this day and age, like they have more than just, they don't have to look at just stars who don't look anything like them. Like there's representation for kids no
That's what I
matter
was about
what
to ask you. How
color
much
or
of
background.
how much of this new way of kids looking up to people do you think has to do with the insurgence of like how they're pushing the world style now, where we're gonna be doing sixes, it's in the Olympics? Because I know for me, I have a couple young men on my team, and they're representing other countries. Dominican
Well,
Republic, Costa
I think
Rica,
that's
Jamaica. I know Stone Evans, my little cousin. I know there are a lot of guys who look up to him
whoa
at
whoa whoa whoa
Providence.
whoa whoa whoa.
hey,
Hold up, hold up, hold up, hold
hold
up.
on, cause have you been paying attention to the subtle name drops?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cause
yeah.
it's been like slight flex, with like small slight flex with like another dash of small slight flex, and then you're like, hold on, I don't know shit about
So a bit of
nothing
background
with
on
lacrosse,
AHun.
but hold on, but I know them names, but I know what them names are, and I know who they're attached to. So what you
That's all
saying,
right.
cuz?
Because back at the World Games when he was only 17, I put AHun and all of our friends on the Stone Evans.
Yo.
And like
Bad boy.
they can tell you that I
Team
said this.
Jamaica.
I literally
But he
said
built his platform
he's
on Team
next up.
Jamaica for real.
Yo.
You know what I'm
I said it.
saying?
He's next up, and he's at Stony
No, he's
Brook.
at
Yo.
Providence.
Providence.
That's
I'm
my
sorry.
dog.
But he built his whole
Literally
he
said
built
he's
his whole
next up.
platform somewhat on, being the face for Team Jamaica. And I think a lot of guys saw that and they was like, wow, okay. Justin Brown was another one who was gonna do it. He got hurt unfortunately, but he was on Team USA. He unfortunately tore his ACL his senior year, but him and Stone, like, they had the blueprint on how to really go about it, entering into college.
He said Stone Evans is his
Yeah,
guy.
that is. Yeah, that's my young boy. I used to have to play
bro.
against him a lot of Sweet Lax.
Yo, what?
I'm so like,
Hold on,
that
man.
is
So no wonder
color,
this
man.
motherfucker is an absolute like Cybertron ninja.
Yo, man.
Like
Sean, great.
Dre, I know him. I know him.
And he just scored. I think he just scored his
And we
first one of
talking to
the.
his cousin.
He just
You
scored
know
his
what I'm
first goal.
saying?
Yeah, he just scored his first goal of the year. He was hurt for the first couple games, but he was able to stick one. I think 2 days ago. So I'm happy he got off
A
that
few
injury
episodes
and
ago, we were
he back to
Yeah,
doing what he loves.
brother, the snippets.
Yeah.
It,
a few words ago we were talking. We were literally talking about like Stone Evans like a few
mm-mm-mm.
episodes ago. Like we were talking like it was
Well, and
great, bro.
he's
It's
also
just
lined
so
up
fun
for
to watch.
USA Box. So I think he took a whole different lane than what a lot of young men traditionally take. He went up to the reservations for the last 2 summers and he played in the box circuit. Like Joey Spallina did and some of these other guys. So,
Yeah.
and again, and that's because his father, Shaun while he was playing at prime time and going through that whole circuit, his dad got well versed with guys who knew what the hell they were talking about. He didn't get stuck on threads and all that stuff. He went and actually got reputable sources who were like, no, like, where are you trying to get your son? And I think anybody who was really playing the smart game, box lacrosse is where the money's at. That's where the longer contracts are. That's where more of the more guaranteed money is. So I know everybody sees the PLL and it's lovely, but the NLL been around for almost 25, 26 years.
Dylan Ward has been playing
And they
since
haven't
I was
budged.
in
They haven't budged. They didn't have to merge. Maybe a team goes somewhere new and they do an expansion draft to reshuffle some stuff. But I'll tell any kid, I got like 5 guys who want to go to Canada or something. They're like, we get it, coach. Like, that's going to be y'all way in. That's how people are going to see y'all. There's a lot more indoor teams than outdoor teams. And I think there'll be a lot more
like
outdoor teams that will come. That's why I think the Sixers Prize League, man, they're in a real peculiar spot because PLL only does their version of it for about what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They do like a 3 week
yeah.
gap. But I
Yeah.
think if somebody can really figure out a Sixers league for real, there's a market there.
And let me ask you this. It like what besides obviously people like caring and investing, I guess it's less of the people caring and investing, whether it's financially or interest in general. But like, what what would you say would be like a roadmap for getting quote unquote a league of our own? Like because like a Sixers league stuff like that, like the
I
movie
think you
title, Northern
got
Conference. But what would you say it
I
would
think
take
you got
place?
NLA who had a really good template, and I think a little bit of what Sixers Prize is doing. I think both leagues have had their pros, both leagues have their cons. I think the excitement, the social media flair, how the teams look, the athletes that they were able to get into the league in a short amount of time, and how we were really able to capitalize in that space. I think the NLA did a very good job. Where I think Sixers Prize does an amazing job, and I'm going to keep saying this is they're already tied into streaming platforms that people use. Where can you play in a league where it's getting streamed and you're not playing in the pro league where it's on ESPN? Like the Sixers Prize League gets streamed, and I think that is where um they're always gonna they have a nice footprint because as long as you can get those companies to see what you're doing, you have room where now you can actually negotiate. You have room where now if you have a structured plan, you can get them to invest in more. So again, I think they both again have their pros, they both have their cons. But I think they both, if could merge together, it would be a complete product of what is needed. Because I think the presentation of the NLA was boom. I think how the Sixers Prize is running is actually how we would wanted the NLA to run a little bit.
Hey, I like that.
I think LXM is really
The
what everybody wants to get back to a little bit. I think that structure LXM tour was a little bit more of like how we would run an event. Again, and I think how they would run an event. I think how natives would run an event if they could, if they have the money. And I think how us African Americans would run an event if we had all the money. I think they're three different type of events that people try to be putting on it. But I think, again, with the PLL, because they have the spotlight, they're putting an event together. They're entertaining in a way that they only know. And I think they get a lot of slack for it. And I think it's not really fair, you know?
Imagine if all of them, like if all the, like if it was a big tournament, maybe PLL as like the umbrella, but you have the indigenous aspect, you have
I
like
think
the,
those talks are coming. I think this weekend, the event that me and Andre was at, I think they see that, you know, and I think what they're seeing is more importantly, um, what Coach Carter told Andre. I think they're starting to see we're taking up spaces in lacrosse. We're not only trying to play. You know, Andre was there promoting what he was doing, and it really have nothing to do with playing or being a player. He's a personality within the lacrosse world, and he was at that space. You got videographers who were there of, you know, their minority. You got gentlemen there who's stringing sticks. You know, you got guys who are playing in it. You got coaches who came up, you know, to do things. You got players from different HBCUs who were there. Um, Not let alone to say Kyle Harrison, who is heavily invested in the PLL. You know, he's in it. You know what I mean? The young lady who runs the PLL assist program in Haley Pinnell, you know, she's African American. So it's like we're starting to take up spaces, and the more spaces, and mind you, it was an HBCU summit. Native Americans were there, and maybe 5 different branches from all over the United States. So I think this event they ran this year was spot on. I feel where they can grow it. They need to leave space now for us all to really be able to talk to people they invited, to have a true collective, share insight, you know, give us a space to talk to one another. Don't try to talk to us so much and tell us we need leadership training or this is how leaders should be or da da da. Like, give us a space to actually be
have
collective.
forums.
Because I think Native Americans and African Americans were very unlike in our story. And I think that's what the small group who was there all together, we saw that. We saw that. I think African Americans and Native Americans, we really saw how closer we really are in this lacrosse thing, even though it's a Native American game. You know, and I feel like they're fighting heavy to show their tradition and all that in it. Where African Americans, we're creating that still. You know, and I think we need a lot. I think we need each other a lot more than we know.
Hey, I have absolutely loved this conversation. Uh, I do absolutely have to
I
go
got
to
you, yeah, man.
bed.
I appreciate y'all time,
But
man. I appreciate y'all
but
spitting, but I would
hey,
definitely love to
hey,
come
but
back
but
up.
Shaun, we definitely want you back for when because
Absolutely.
eventually, usually we kind of do one closer to like summer for like the men's like mental health month, and we're gonna focus on a series for that one. So I'm trying to get as many people for that as possible. We're basically gonna talk kind of about the focus is accountability, and it's just
Oh, I
like what
love talking about
accountability looks
that.
like as a man, as a leader, as a father for anyone that's got kids, and like in your career field, and like what it looks like self, the people around you, and how you implement that. So that's like the big theme for this upcoming
Perfect, man.
season.
Count me in. I mean, I've been waiting for a while to just get on somebody's podcast and, you know, just speak knowledge. You know, I feel like I'm a walk-in knowledge stick, no cap. You know, I tell my guys that all the time. I'm like Bill Gates, you know, why wouldn't you listen to Bill Gates? You know, so
Ah,
um
well, hey,
I
not
appreciate
him
y'all.
per se. I wouldn't. That's my man.
I'm more like 50 Cent. We'll put it that way. You know what I mean? I'll take the
Perfect.
vitamin water deal any day for life. You know what I mean? I'll
Hey,
put it
bro,
that way.
listen, I
You
hear
know,
you. Hey, Shaun, real quick, tell anyone that's listening, that's whether they're gonna see this on YouTube or they're gonna hear this on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast at. Tell them where they can find you and how they
well,
can
if you're
make
looking
you.
for me, I'm on Instagram mainly, at Coach State Made. You can also reach me on the at VSU Trojans and Lax Instagram. Also Be More Elite Sports or Be More Elite. And if you're looking for training type videos, at Mudwalkers, that's double D, MUDDWALKAS. You can also always follow our team page and just check out at VSU Go VSU Trojans, go on to Men's Lax. You can see our updated schedule. You can see what games we have coming up. Our games are all streamed through Huddle Fan TV, so you can watch all of our games live, no cost at all. And yeah, we're about to get that YouTube going soon, so we can maybe get some monetization. So we got a
Oh,
big
that'll
lot.
be
We're
sweet.
working hard, and we're trying to create our own productions. So only year 3, but a
Yeah,
lot more to go.
I love it. This is great. AHun, tell the people where to find you.
Oh man, super easy. AHun the Shogun. Listen on Instagram, a.hun.the Shogun. On Twitter or X, I call it Twitter. His daddy named him Twitter, so I'm gonna call him Twitter. You know what I'm saying? A_hun_ the Shogun. You can also find C.D.B Multimedia. That way you can stay tapped into and listen. There's so many upgrades behind the scenes. I know I've said this in so much multiplicity that it's probably like common at this point, but I don't really think y'all understand like the level of growth that we've had since we've started, to the point that like we are across the nation. We're streaming globally, and even at this point, like I had to take a pause because I now want us to try and create like a platform to where everybody eats. That's always been my methodology. So be in tune and pay attention to C.D.B Multimedia on Twitter, because we will be dropping a Patreon page for all of the diaspora underneath the umbrella of C.D.B Multimedia. I'm telling you that now. Listen, I can't explain all the stuff that has happened within the last year because I'm overwhelmed, and it's a good problem to have. To the point that I've now met Coach Shaun, you know what I'm saying? And I already know what all is going to come from our interactions and meeting together. And then just listen, who the fuck cares what I'm talking about? More than anything, before we go, I just need y'all to understand how proud of Dre I am. Listen, we met each other across the ethos of the interwebs, and in the same sense, went from not having a platform podcast, nothing, right, to I want to do this thing and I'm gonna do this thing, to now being invited to so many different spaces and places across a sport that he is super passionate about, coaching at a high school level, doing things that literally he is telling his players to do. So I am watching stuff happen in real time, and I can't tell you how much I'm geeking out about it, which is why I put these glasses on. So sorry, not sorry. You dig what I'm saying? But meow. Anyways, I just need y'all to understand like how fortunate I am to be in these spaces, because I am merely a guest. Time is an illusion, and we are not here for long. Again, I am going to enjoy all the things that happen while I am here. And on top of that, the impact that is had upon people like Coach Shaun, by Dre, by Sloan, by Jermaine, by Keys, by Marty, by all the folks involved with C.D.B Multimedia and all the stuff that we do. This is the most fun shit. And I was like rushing trying to get here, but I will tell you off screen or off stage, back of the house, all that. I'll tell you the conversation that I had, which is why I was a bit late. So with that being said, that's where you can find me. AHun the Shogun, you know what I'm saying? C.D.B Multimedia. Also, make sure you follow Dre, the Dre Lax Podcast. You know what I'm saying? You can find him on Spotify, YouTube. Also, you can find him on the Aim High Podcast as well. You know what I mean?
That's the way we want
Will
it.
be boots on the ground for the remaining days of Championship Series. So you will catch me at the St. James Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we will try to make sure that the recap episode for this next one isn't a nearly 4-hour podcast.
Yo, listen, sorry not sorry. We had a whole bunch of gems to drop. Move out the way and then just be patient. You know what I'm saying? We will put out the snippets so that you feel nice, get your fill.
Listen during cardio. Thank you, Shaun.